Hey, beautiful people. Hope that y'all having a great day. Actually, for most of you, it's morning. I hope that y'all staying warm out there if you live in, cold states. And I'm gonna get right into the video. I'm not gonna hold you guys too late tonight, okay? There's some things that we need to talk about, but I'm gonna get right into it. All right. Let me find it. Let's go. What's good, Melissa? Did you watch anything good? I gotta turn off my camera and my microphone so y'all can hear this video. I'm not gonna keep y'all too late because there's actually two things I want to talk to you guys about, but we're gonna talk about Donald Trump right now. Melissa, what's good, girl? All right.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much, and I'm thrilled to be back in the great state of Iowa with so many proud, hardworking American patriots, which is what you are. It's an amazing state. What a place. Boy, do we have some victories here. Were they the greatest? So exactly 2 years ago this month, it was the people of Iowa who put us on a rocket ship back to the White House. It was a rocket. That was a quick one. After a rigged election, we had a rigged election. I said, do we do it again? And I said, I think we better do it again. Not too many people would have said that. But we did so well the second time, I said, well, we won twice, we got to do it a third time. Should we do it a fourth time? Four victories. Four victories. We got the right team over there. The right team over there. Well, I said, geez, that would be easy for you. That wouldn't even be work. But you came out by the thousands on a cold and snowy winter evening. Remember that beautiful evening? And together we won the Iowa caucuses in a 30-point landslide. That was great. I'll never forget it. It was so freezing. You think it's cold now? That blew it away. Whatever happened to global warming? You know? Now it's, it's like one of those things. But it was the coldest night. I remember it was way below zero. And they say, sir, you don't have to come till 10 or 11 o'clock because the caucus takes longer. Then I got a call at, let's say the polls closed at 7. Sir, you've won. I said, I won what? They told me 10 o'clock. They can't announce. They said, you won by so much. They just called it at 1 minute after 7. So, right? So we made the journey. And we made that journey through all the cars and everything else, and we made a speech. But what an evening that was. Then in November, we won the state by a massive landslide. That was incredible in the election. And we then went on to win all swing states, all 7 of them. They said 7 swing. Well, he could win 4 of them. He's doing very well, but we won 7. We won the Electoral College 312 to 226. We won the popular vote for the first time of any Republican in many decades by millions and millions of votes. And we won a category that's very important. We won 86% of all counties in America, 2,700 to 525. How about that? Other than that, we didn't do too well. So now we're back where it all started to celebrate the greatest first year of any administration in American history. They say that. Even the radical left is saying, only we did a lot of things. 12 months ago, Joe Biden handed us a mess. We inherited the legacy of record high inflation, the highest inflation in the history of our country. They say the fake news, ooh, that's a lot of fake news. No, the fake news said it's 48 years. I remember recently I said the highest inflation, the worst. Believe this, by the way? Worst in the history of our country. They said it wasn't the worst. It was 48 years. I said, that's okay, too. Somehow that sounds even worse than when you say the history, right? 48 years. I accepted that, but I think it was in the history. A mass invasion of our border and our country was being laughed at all over the world. We were being laughed at. We were a joke. We're not a joke anymore. We're not a joke. We're not being laughed at anymore. But today, just after 1 year of President Trump, our economy is booming, incomes are rising, investment is soaring, inflation has been defeated, our border is closed, totally closed. And America is respected all over the world like they've never been respected. 1 year, I thought it would take us 2 years. I guess I'm following in the great path of John Deere. We got the chairman of John Deere here, chairman and CEO. That's pretty good. I even signed a John Deere hat for him. He said, I'm going to put this in the museum. I said, that's good. No, it's a great company. And you just said you're opening up 2 massive plants because of tariffs. You're opening up one in North Carolina, one someplace else. And then you're expanding all over the place. You're doing a great job. I bought a lot of John Deere stuff. I bought a lot of John Deere. It's a great company. It's an honor to have you. Thank you very much. This has been the most dramatic 1 year turnaround of any country in history in terms of the speed. I really thought it would take us 2 or 3 years to do what we're doing. You know, we're the number 1 country anywhere in history in the world, anywhere in history for investment coming into the country. And it's amazing. And it's because of tariffs. And it's also because of the fact that we had such a tremendous November 5th. That November 5th brought spirit back to our country, came back. You know, one thing I think which is so important is, if you remember a year and a half ago, we couldn't get people to enlist in the military, any of them, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, any of them, the Coast Guard, Space Force. I love Space Force, right? We couldn't get them, and even police departments, they couldn't get anybody with a uniform that represented the country. We couldn't get them. And today, we have the single greatest recruitment numbers in the history of our military. The police forces are loaded. Law enforcement is loaded up. And everybody wants to be a policeman, a fireman. They want to be in the military, any branch. I mean, we literally, they couldn't get them. A year and a half ago, nobody wanted to be in the military. Now everybody wants to be in the military. It's an amazing thing that's happened, an amazing turnaround. And all because we have a president who does something very simple, puts America first, right? Right? Thank you. So under my leadership, economic growth is exploding to numbers unheard of. They've never had them before in recent times, and now, and we're just getting started. You know, the great, big, beautiful bill, which is no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security for our seniors. Do we have any seniors in here? Do we have any seniors in here? One of the fake news said, he did that because he doesn't want to pay tax on his Social Security. That's what I never thought of. These are sick people. But despite the fact that we've just really started, it's just kicking in because we inherited such a horrible situation with all of the high prices and the inflation and everything else. And by the way, the open borders, we had millions and everything you see today wouldn't happen. They opened the borders, but we had a 5.4%. And since the election, the stock market has set 52 all-time highs, adding $9 trillion in value to your savings, retirement accounts, and 401ks. So 401k people, I mean, of which you got a lot of people. Does anybody have a 401k in the audience? A lot of people. So you're setting records, right? The highest it's ever been. They say this, you know, the good stock market, they say, well, this stock market, you know, they just try so hard. This stock market doesn't affect the middle class I say it does. What about a 401k? What about all the other things? What about the fact that they're making more salary than they've ever made? But the stock market's the highest. How is John Deere stock doing? Great? All-time high? It's all-time. Everyone. I don't have to even ask the question. I mean, I made a lot of people rich. Me, I just keep working. I made a lot of people rich. I made a lot of people rich that I don't even like. I got a lot of people that I don't like at all, and I've doubled their net worth. But after 4 years in which Biden got less than $1 trillion in new investment, think of it. He took in substantially less in 4 years than $1 trillion. We secured commitments for a record-breaking plus $18 trillion. So in 1 year, we did over $18 trillion, and he did less than $1 trillion. Just over 1 year ago, under Sleepy Joe Biden and the radical left lunatics, we were a dead country. We were a dead country. I tell you, 1 year ago, a little more than 1 year ago, we were a dead country. The king of Saudi Arabia told me that. You've heard me say it. He said it better than anybody else. He said, you know, I can't believe it. A few months ago, he said, a year ago, you were a dead country. Now you're the hottest country anywhere in the world. He said, I can't believe it. And today I'm pleased to announce one more historic investment. The great American company that we just talked about is doing so much. I have to give it really. I buy so much equipment from so many of the people in the, you know, we have a lot of very successful companies in here, but I know it's a very special deal because John Deere is doing $70 million in factory in North Carolina. It's brand new, the best in the world. And I think it's going to pay off very, very big. And if it doesn't, I have nothing to do with it. But if it does, I'm going to take full credit. But what it is an excavator factory, as I understand it, and it's going to be the only excavator factory. In other words, excavators. We all know I love those excavators. Believe it or not, I know a lot about them. We don't make them here. This is going to be the only excavator entirely made in the United States of America. So that's good. That's good. I love it. I love it. It's great. And they'll all come. I hate to tell you, but they're all going to be coming too. You're going to have some competition, but you'll be ahead of them. If congressional Democrats had their way this year, would right now be facing the largest tax hike. So they wanted to give you, this is what I was running against, the largest tax hike in the history of our country. I wanted to give you the largest tax cut in the history of our country. And if they won, this country would be cratering right now. It would be cratering. So I've cut a record number of job-killing regulations. The reason our job numbers are so good, and remember this, I've cut hundreds of thousands of federal jobs. Now, if I didn't do that, our numbers would be even more through the roof. Or I could get them. You know what they do? In order to have decent numbers, they hire 1 million people. You hire 1 million people, all of a sudden you're down to 3.5%. We don't do that. We get rid of that job where you have 10 jobs for you have 10 people for every job. And they are all now, and they hated me. They hated me. Now they love me. You know why? They all got jobs in the private sector, making twice as much money as they made from the federal government, sometimes much more than that. So a year ago, they hated me, and now they love me. But it includes dozens of burdensome regulations that were crushing our amazing farmers. We love our farmers. We won this thing. I think water restrictions to keep federal bureaucrats off your land and out of your business. That was a big one. That was a big one. I terminated the so-called diesel exhaust fluid requirement. You know what that is? Saving family farmers more than $1 billion a year. And we're going to do a lot more. We're going to do something on tractors. You know, they never took we did it with cars. We took all that nonsense off the cars. You couldn't start your car. You'd have to go to MIT to get somebody to fix your car with all the crap they had on it in order to save a quarter of a glass of this much little tiny bit of gas. These people are crazy. And I'm going to do that, I think, for tractors, too, because we're going to get the tractors back where you don't have to be a PhD in order to start your tractor, in order to keep the environment clean. So much nonsense. I think it makes the environment dirty, actually. And very importantly, on day one, I kept my promise to the people of Iowa and abolished the insane electric vehicle mandate, which would have obligated you to go out and buy an electric car, but it would have obliterated a thing called ethanol. Do you like ethanol? Is it big? A lot of people are asking me about ethanol. I don't know. Do you want me to do something with ethanol? Maybe. After years of the United States getting ripped off by other countries on trade, I'm standing up for the workers and the farmers of our country like no other president has ever. No other president's done this. I mean, no other done this. I could have had an ACC presidency. I'd probably have this little piece of ear back, you know? Could have it, and I wouldn't have to listen to lunatics like this up there. Then nice. Boy, they're good here. Do we love our law enforcement? They work very quickly. But under Sleepy Joe, we had the largest trade deficit in world history. But in 1 year, I've slashed our gaping trade deficit by a staggering 77%. How about that? What about that? That's pretty good, right? 77. Nobody's ever seen that. You know, if you slash your trade deficit by 1%, you're like a genius. They say, oh, he's very electable. He's not so electable. I did 77. I did something else, favored nations on drugs. We now are paying the lowest price anywhere in the world for drugs. In other words, we're matching favored nations. It's called most favored nations. Every other president tried for it. They didn't try very hard. They didn't get anything. I got it done. I got all the nations to agree. You think that was easy? I said, if you don't agree, we're going to put tariffs on you. They said, we agree. We agree. So you'll have a pill that costs $10, as an example, costs $10 in London, costs $130 in Des Moines, and now it's going to cost $20. Think of it. You'll go from $130 down to it's the biggest price reduction of prescription drugs in history. And going to have a huge impact on your health care, too. I was very proud of it. And you know, the fake news, I can't get them to talk about it. Think of it. I got the biggest price reduction in history on drugs, pharmaceuticals. I can't get these guys to talk about it. It was page like 22 in the New York Times, a little story. I just got the biggest. I can't believe it. If a Democrat got a half a point down, this is like hundreds of, depending on the way you want to calculate it, you could say it's an 80% reduction, or you could say it's 1,000% reduction. You could say whatever you want, but it's the biggest reduction in history by many, many times. I did something because we were subsidizing the entire world. We were paying 10 times, in many cases, more money than the rest of the world. And I said it wasn't fair. And I got it done. And everyone said you can. They said, you'll never get other countries to agree. They said, yeah. I said, yes, I will. They said, you'll never get the other countries to agree. I got the drug companies. That was not easy, I want to tell you, but that was not so bad. But they even told me, we'll agree to it, but you'll never get the other countries. I said, 100% I will. Why wouldn't I get them? And I called Macron of France. I said, you got to double the price of your drugs. He said, no, I will not do that. What was the story with his glasses the other day? What the hell was that all about? But anyway, I got them all. I don't want to go into a lawsuit. Bottom line, I said, I'm going to increase tariffs by 25. I'm going to charge you 25% tariff if you don't do it. They said, we will do it. We would be, why don't you ask? We'd love to do it. So I got something done that no other president could have gotten done, and no other president, I don't even think they tried. You want to know the truth? Do you think Biden was thinking about it? He just was thinking about how the hell to get off the stage. Remember, the guy could never find it. You have so many ways. You can jump off the front if it really gets... You got stairs all over the place. The guy could never find his way off the stage. This was not a good sign. But I've made new fair trade deals with countries covering half of all U.S. trade. You do know they're paid agitators, right? They're paid. They get paid. You know, do you ever see their signs? You know, we used to have protests and you'd have guys making a sign in a basement. These are all paid agitators. That's all they are. They get paid to go and they don't even know what, when they interview them, why are you here? I don't know. They have no idea. They're paid insurrectionists, really, in some cases. They're sickos. But I've made new fair trade deals with countries covering half of all U.S. trade, scoring giant wins for the farmers, ranchers, and agricultural producers like no other president has ever done. That's why I got such a tremendous vote from the farmers, and I love you too. I do love you too. So Japan will now allow the United States to supply up to 100% of automotive ethanol, and import large amounts of aviation biofuels from the United States. That's great for you. That was part of the deal that we made. The United Kingdom will import nearly $1 billion of ethanol. That's part of their deal. Australia is allowing American beef into its market for the first time in more than 20 years. Did you know that? And beef is doing great, and we got to get the prices down a little bit, and they're starting to come down pretty much. China has agreed to purchase over $40 billion of U.S.-grown soybeans. You know that. You're selling them. They're selling them. And I went to President Xi, and he's upping it. I mean, it's $40 billion. The European Union will dramatically increase purchases of American pork, dairy, and soybean oil. They never did that before. They're all doing things that they never did before, because you have a certain president that's a little bit different from the presidents that you had before. And nations from Cambodia to Thailand to the Philippines and Indonesia are eliminating all trade barriers to agricultural products. Your agricultural products had trade barriers that didn't allow them to be sold in countries that are now saying, oh, please, we'd love to accept your product. So that's great. It's going to be, you're going to see it starting to kick in now for the farmers. And to further help our farmers recover from the really a catastrophe of the Biden years, what a period of years that we had. We had a country that was just dead. We had a country that was just not respected by anybody. We had a guy who didn't know where the hell he was. Do you think he worried about his farmer at night? No. He just wanted to go to sleep. This is what we had. This is what we had in our fake election. We recently issued $12 billion in farm relief. We gave them far because you were screwed by other countries. I said, how much is the number? To our great Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins. She's doing a great job. I said, Brooke, what's the number? And she said $12 billion. And I wrote a check for $12 billion because we have so much money from the tariffs coming in. So you couldn't have done that before. We're a rich country now. I hope we win that Supreme Court case. You know, we have people that are China-oriented. They're people from literally that very China-oriented and foreign country-oriented trying to stop that. But we'll get it done one way or the other. We're going to do it. If we have to do it a different way, we'll do it. But we're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. We're doing amazing. Nobody can even believe it. Foreign countries cannot believe what's happened. They're studying us, but it won't work. But I'm also working hard to expand your markets domestically. And in the campaign, I promise to support E15 all year round. Yes, yes. Should I do it, Kaufman? Should I do it? I did. I promised E15 all year round if I get elected. And I want to let you know, and we'll start right now. I was going to put out a statement a week ago. I said, hold it. I'm coming to Iowa to make a speech. I'm not going to put out a truth. I want to be there in person to tell them, the people of Iowa, to know that I am trusting Speaker Mike Johnson, who's great, and Leader John Thune, who's great. That's House and Senate. To find a deal that works, we've got it. For farmers, consumers, and refiners, including small and mid-sized refiners. In other words, to get E15 approved, and they're working on it. They're very close to getting it done. So I just wanted to let you know that. Yeah? Okay? And China will be sending me a bill very shortly supporting year-round E15 to my desk very quickly, and I will sign it without delay. Okay? I hope you remember us for the midterms. You know, the worst thing about the midterms is the fact that no matter what happens, the people that win the presidency, you win even if you're a good president. I think we had the best first year of any president ever, maybe they say. But even if you have it great, it's like in the last 50 years, they've won it twice. Can you believe it? If something happens, there's a screw turns with the voters. So even if it's a Democrat or Republican, whoever wins the presidency has a hard time with the midterm. If we lose the midterms, you'll lose so many of the things that we're talking about, so many of the assets that we're talking about, so many of the tax cuts that we're talking about. And it would lead to very bad things. We got to win the midterms. I mean, I'm here because I love Iowa, but I'm here because we're starting the campaign to win the midterms. We got to win the midterms. That means Senate and it means House. Got to win them. It's crazy. You know, you think it would be like a 50-50 deal or something. It's like, for some reason, and this is Democrat too. Democrat wins the presidency. For some reason, they lose the midterms. Now, maybe they don't campaign as hard because they've campaigned. I don't know, but I campaign hard. We got to win the midterms. So remember that you got to get out and you got to vote. The midterms are very important. We're gonna really work hard on winning the midterms. We have great candidates. Again, Senate and House. We have great candidates. We got to win them. And we have candidates that rule with common sense, not this craziness. You know, we're not going to be supporting transgender for all, men and women's sports, open borders. Open borders. The worst is open borders because, you know, I take care of things and, you know, inflation, I had it beat very quickly and all, but this open border thing, you know, it's a lot of work. Taking criminals in that they allowed into our country where the jails are opened up. Remember the jails, the prisons all over, from all over the world, they're opened up. The Congo, all over South America, Venezuela, they opened up their jails. We got to get them out. I mean, it's really, really, we can never forget what that group of morons did to this country. We can never forget. And we've got to win the midterms. That's why we've got to win the midterms. As we bring trillions of dollars pouring into our country from overseas, we're also making America affordable again, a problem caused totally by the crooked Joe Biden administration. I mean, you know, I inherited this problem. They say, prices are too high. I just took over. They said, I'll never forget, I come here, I'm in 3 days, I have a news conference 3 days into my administration. What about the price of eggs? They've gone up like 5 times more. I said, I just got here. I didn't know about it. I'm sorry. And we got eggs down very quickly, remember? But I was standing there. I'm so happy. I just won. I thought the press was going to be so nice. And some lunatic right there, actually. What about the price of eggs? Eggs have gone up. I said, oh, tell me, give me a little, because I don't know. I just got here. I'm sorry. But I fixed it. Now I fixed it pretty much all, but it's going to go down even further. No, but they caused the problem. And then they came up, you know, it's a word that they came up with, affordability. Every time you hear the word, remember, they're the ones that caused the problem. And first time you heard about it was like a few months ago. This election's all about affordability. Well, they're the ones that caused the problem. But nobody knows that. You know, people forget. So they say, oh, affordability, let's vote for the Democrats. It's no, affordability. They caused a tremendous price increases. It was caused by the worst inflation we've ever had. And they come up with this word affordability. And I saw it even, although you're not hearing it so much anymore. You know why? Because the prices are coming down so much. They don't want it to be an election based on lower prices. But we're bringing down the lower, I like that term better. It's the lower prices. We're bringing them down. But we inherited the highest prices in the history of our country, and we've rapidly brought them down. And that's what we want to do. Did you ever see them where they're being interviewed? This will be an election on affordability. And I say that, but they never talk about it after. That's all they say. They just say affordability, but they never do anything, Mr. Chairman, right? They never say, they don't talk about what do they mean. So everyone says, you know, look, you people are doing a lot of things. You're not into politics that much, although you like it, you like Trump, but you're not into politics. But you're not going to go back and examine. All you know is, oh, therefore, I guess that means they did a good job. They almost destroyed our country. They were pricing you out. When gasoline's at $4.50 and now it's at $1, I was told, you know, saying $1.99 today in Iowa, I was told that it was $1.85 it hit a gallon in Iowa. And you know, that's like a massive tax cut. That's actually like a massive tax cut. So the Biden nightmare cost a typical American family $34,000 in 4 years. But after 1 year of Trump, real wages are already up more than $2,000. Think of it. That's a $5,000 swing, much faster. Wages have gone up much faster. Think of this than inflation. With him, it was just the opposite. Wages in the United States in the last year have gone up. And remember, the first part of the year, actually, you could say almost the first year, I was fixing the country from the horror show that we inherited. Grocery prices, airfares, hotels, car payments, and rent prices have all come down, and they've come down very fast. And thanks to our tax cuts, millions of Americans will soon receive record-setting tax refunds, an average of more than $1,000. Think of that, $1,000 compared to last year, $1,000 just in what you're going to save with some of the tax cuts. And that number goes up exponentially over the course of 4 years. So it's amazing. It's called the Great Big Beautiful Bill. You know, one other thing that you get that's I thought was so great. I came up with it. You know, very rich people get deductions. Middle income people don't get deductions. They never have. I said, why is it that when a rich person buys something, they get a deduction on interest, but when somebody that's working like hell, they don't get it if they want to buy a car? And I said, why can't somebody buying a car in America, only if it's made in America, if it's made in some other country, we have no interest. So I got it approved in the Great Big Beautiful Bill. You get a full tax deduction against your income tax. You get a full tax deduction. Think of it, if you purchase a car in America, if you borrow money, the interest that you're paying on that borrowed money is a full deduction for your tax purposes. And that's a tremendous deal. And you know what? It's also great for the car companies, because the car companies are going to be making a lot more cars that they couldn't believe it. And I got it passed. So just remember me as you take those deductions, please. The king of deductions. No, but it was always unfair the way a lot of people got treated. You take that deduction. One of those who will be seeing a big benefit thanks to our tax cuts is Erica Peralta. Where's Erica? Is she here? Erica? Where is Erica? Right here. Where is she? Oh, she's so beautiful. I'm not allowed to say that anymore. If I say a woman is beautiful, that's the end of your political career, you know? But she is beautiful. How are you? Congratulations. What a good story. She's the general manager at Whiskey River Bar in Ankeny, Iowa, which, as you know, I visited strongly a couple of times in the campaign. And Erica's been able to hire many new employees, and they're each going to be taking home thousands and thousands of dollars extra because of the no tax on tips. And she got a lot more people wanting to work for her, too, because of that no tax on tips. That's just one of many. How's that working out, Erica? Good? You want to come up and say a few words? Come on up, Erica. You want to come on up? And while she's coming up, also with us is Judy Waldron from Davenport. Judy works part-time as a bartender, and her husband, Chris, is an electrician who works hours on overtime each week. Their family is going to save thousands of dollars on no tax on overtime and no tax on tips, which they'll use to prepare for retirement. And I want to thank you, Judy. Where's Judy? Come here. Where's Judy? Come on up, Judy. Get up here. Come on up. They're totally unprepared for this, but what the hell, right? Say a few words. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, President Trump. No tax on tips is huge for everyone in the service industry. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I would just like to say the same thing. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Andy. Good luck. I refuse to say they're beautiful. I refuse. But they're beautiful. Do all people look like that in Iowa? I don't think so. Thank you both. Congratulations, too. Great. That's great. We're not supposed to come up, but I looked at both of them and I said, get up here. We're also pleased to be joined by Governor Kim Reynolds. Kim, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Kim. Great. A man who's become a real star, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Scott. He's become a star. He's done a real job. He knows his business. And he's a big cutter. He cuts a lot of things. Small Business Administrator, another real star, Kelly Loeffler. Kelly, thank you, Kelly. Thanks, Kelly. Great person. Those are great people. Also with us are Representatives Ashley Hinson. These are people running for office. We have to vote them. Randy Feenstra, Marionette Miller Meeks, and Zach Nunn. I want to thank you. Thank you. And I want to tell you that they're all great and they're all running and they should be in good shape, but you got to get out and vote. Got to get out and vote. Iowa Attorney General Brenna Bird. Where's Brenna? Hi, Brenna. Boy, she was early to endorse me. She was so early. We appreciate it. We'll never forget that. That was great. Thanks a lot, Brenna. And you're doing well. I hear you're doing great, right? Thank you. She's running again. You got to vote for her. State House Majority Leader Bobby Kaufman. Bobby. Guys, you gotta move her there. Thank you, Bobby. Great job. Great family. Former State Senate President Leader. Now, I have to tell you about this guy. He endorsed me, the first person in the entire United States of America. It was a year before I even knew I was running, he endorsed me. He endorsed me because he thought I would be good. I wasn't even thinking about running. He was so early. He was the first person in the United States before my wife, before my kids. State Senate President. He's a Marlboro man. He looks like the Brad Zahn. Where's Brad? Where are you, Brad? Come on up here. Get up here, Brad. And state representatives Heather Hora, Derek Wolf, Brooke Bowden, and many other wonderful members of the Iowa State House. I want to thank you all for being here. Brad, you got to say, look at this guy. Can you talk, Brad?
Well, it's an honor to be here. And you know, my wife is a Fox News junkie, and she loves Laura Ingraham. And I tell her, I said, enjoy every second because you are the GOAT. Promises made, promises kept. Thank you. Great job. Thank you.
He's the Marlboro man, right? He could do that, do whatever he wants. He was so early. I said, who the hell is that guy in Iowa that keeps endorsing me? Thank you, Brad. We won't forget. The Trump administration has done more in 12 months than most administrations achieve in 4 years or 8 years. We've done a lot. I've recently introduced my plan to repair the damage of the Unaffordable Care Act, the worst disaster, which now costs many families more than a mortgage. If you look, a number came out, it's a bigger cost than a mortgage, and it's bad health care. Obamacare was created to make insurance companies rich with government subsidies. I want all that money that gets paid to the insurance companies to get paid directly to the people. That's all I want. So that you can buy better health care at a lower cost. The problem is the Democrats don't want to do that because they are owned by the insurance companies. So they say, oh, we don't want to do that. I want the money to be paid to the people to go out and buy their own health care. You'll buy much better health care. You have a lot of money left over. And I'm also making it a lot easier to buy a thing called a house, the American dream. Last week, I signed an executive order to ban Wall Street and large institutional investors from buying up all the single-family homes in America. Because we don't want America to become a nation of renters, and that's what they forced happen. I mean, you have these companies, they own 5,000 houses, 20,000. One has hundreds of thousands of houses. We don't want that. We want people to be able to buy houses. At the same time, I want to keep the value of the house very high of those people who already own a house. We're not forgetting about them because they don't necessarily match those two things. You know, we get the prices down. Well, what does that do? Very important to me, more important to me, is, you know, people have become rich by owning their home. We're going to keep them nice and rich. Is that okay? You know, nobody... I'll bet you've never heard that before, right? But people own a home, and for the first time, their home, it's a certain, we're not going to bring that price down. I want to say, let them be rich. But we're strengthening Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac that you've heard about. And in the last 12 months, those institutions have supported over 22,000 Iowa families in purchasing or refinancing and saved over 3,000 Iowa families from losing their homes. We've come out and really helped a lot of people keep your home. And despite a bad Fed chairman, a guy that has no, we call him too late. He's too late. Jerome Too Late Powell, he's too late. He wasn't too late before the Democrats won the election, then he was too early. But he wants to keep rates as high as possible. Despite that, we've driven rates down. You know, when you're really good, you can get them down despite everything, because ultimately it just sort of follows nature. Mortgage interest rates are now at the lowest level in 3 years, and new mortgage applications are up 30%. By the way, well, we have a great Fed chairman. I think we're going to have one. I'll announce it pretty soon. You'll see rates come down a lot. And refinancings are up 100% compared to the end of the Biden term. Up 100%. We're also working tirelessly to bring back a thing called law and order. You know, there was a time. So there was a time that you weren't allowed to use the words law and order. I like that guy. You weren't allowed to use the term law and order. You weren't allowed to use the term Christmas. Merry Christmas, everybody, right? Remember that 2016? I ran on, we're going to bring back Christmas. We did. Now they're afraid to suggest it, but we brought that back. But law and order, we need law and order. And we have the lowest crime rate now in the history of our country. That's good, but we'll do even better. And as everyone is aware, we have totally and completely closed the southern border with little fanfare, but tremendous success. When the southern border is closed, nobody's coming in. That's right. Nobody is able to come into our country except for those that come in legally. We want to have people come in legally. We need people to come in legally, but they have to show that they can love our country, not hate our country. They have to show that they're not going to blow up our shopping centers, blow up our farms, kill people. They're coming in legally, but they cannot come in unless they come in legally into our country, and we're letting some great people come in. They have to show that they can love our country. They have to be proud. Not like Ilhan Omar. Did you see that wise guy? You know, she's always talking about the Constitution, provides me with the following. You know, the Constitution, she comes from a country that's a disaster. So probably it's considered, I think, the worst. It's not even a country, okay? It barely has a government. I don't think it does. They go to one thing, pirates. But they don't do that anymore. You know why? Because they get the same treatment from us as the drug dealers get. Boom, boom, boom. I don't care what ship they're attacking. When they attack, when we see them going in, ping, that's the end of it. It's amazing. You know, I don't know if you know, drugs coming in by water is down 97%. And we're trying to find out who the other 3% is because we consider them the bravest people in the world. Who the hell are the 3%? But it's down 97%. And now we're taking them down on the land. The land is much easier than the sea. You had to do the sea first, but the sea is done. We haven't exactly helped the luxury fishing business, I would say. Would you like to go fishing? No, thank you. I'd rather. Let's go deep sea fishing today. Let's go on a little boat, deep sea fishing. Sorry about that. But it's down 97%. We've done a job. I'll tell you, we've made our country respected again. The greatest military. We have the greatest military in the world. You know, I rebuilt our military in our first term, and we have the greatest military in the world. So you read much about Minnesota, where, unbeknownst to the public, we have brought down crime very substantially in Minnesota. We've taken out thousands of hard criminals, hardened, vicious, horrible criminals. You don't read about things like Washington, D.C., where there is virtually no crime, and it was horrible a year and a half ago. Memphis, Tennessee, which was a real disaster, and now it's down. Crime has dropped by 78% in the last 2 months. New Orleans, Louisiana, I was asked by the governor of Louisiana to help them with New Orleans. It was a disaster, and crime is down 54% in about 3 weeks. You don't read about that. And we've done all of this by taking thousands of criminals out of these states. We took over 2,000 people out of Washington, D.C. These were criminals. You know, if you remember, about 2% of the population, it's a very simple business. 2% of the population causes 90% of the crime. So when you start decimating that 2%, boom, that's why we have the, it's an amazing number when you think. It's just crime over and over and over. 2% creates 90% of the crime. Isn't that amazing? It's not that complicated, is it? In 1 year, we've achieved the largest drop in the murder rate in the history of our country. Drug overdose deaths are down by 21%, the largest drop ever recorded. We got to do better than that. And I've designated the drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. Big deal. And despite the strong efforts of the fake news media, we are starting to see the historic success reflected in tremendous polls. We have great polls. In last week's Rasmussen poll, we're leading among Hispanic voters. We're leading by a lot. Nobody's ever seen a Republican lead among Hispanic voters. You know, Hispanic voters don't want crime. People don't realize that. Hispanic voters want strong borders because they know what's coming in and they don't want them. They're great. They've been great. We did so great in the election with Hispanic voters. We did so great with black men. We did so great with white everything. In yesterday's RMG poll, a clear majority of Americans support our deportation policies by a margin of 10%. Now, I don't know why 10%, because I don't think it's even, I mean, wouldn't you say like 100%? Who the hell would be against? Maybe somebody that hates our country. In a recent Harvard-Harris poll found that 80% of Americans support our unprecedented operation to deport criminal aliens. In other words, 80%, that's more like it, of the people support our operation to remove really dangerous, bad people out of our country. And in a Reuters poll that just came out, Republicans are leading on the economy by a lot and leading on immigration by a lot. And the crime, they're leading by a real lot, by almost 20 points. And in Real Clear Politics average net approval, the Republican Party is more than 10 points more popular than Democrats. And I don't even understand that. How can 10 points is considered a lot? But to me, I mean, how is it 10 points? Well, we've done all these things. They've done only destroying our country. They would destroy. I'm telling you, if Kamala won, or any of them, I think Gavin Newsom is worse because, I mean, he's destroyed California. If they win, that group, that ideology wins, you will be Venezuela on steroids. And I've said it for years. And you know what? They will destroy our country. The country would have been destroyed already. We're fully rebuilding the U.S. military with more than $1 trillion we're spending on the military. And in June, we obliterated Iran's nuclear capacity in Operation Midnight Hammer. You saw that. People have been waiting for 22 years to do that, and we were right at the end. They were about a month away from having a nuclear weapon. We had to do it. And by the way, there's another beautiful armada floating beautifully toward Iran right now. So we'll see. I hope they make a deal. I hope they make a deal. They should have made a deal the first time they'd have a country. And just weeks ago, at a spectacular operation in Venezuela, we brought the outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro to face American justice. In one of the most brilliant, lethal, quick, they've never seen violent operations ever seen, military operations ever seen. Nobody was killed, not on their side. A lot of people, unfortunately, I have to say a lot. We went into a very big, powerful military base with a group of unbelievable, talented, patriotic people that love our country. You couldn't hold them back. You know, the weather was off for 3 nights. It was not good, so I delayed it. The next night it was okay, but not great. I said, General, sir, they're ready to go, sir, they're okay. I said, but the weather's a little bad. I said, sir, they're ready to go. I said, God bless you, General. And boy, did they do a job. Joe Biden and his allies, in conclusion, in Congress did everything they could to destroy our country, but they failed. And today, after just 1 year since my second inauguration, you know, we have a new hat. It's called America is Back. America is back. Our border is secure. Our spirit is restored. Inflation is stopped. Incomes are up. Prices are down. Our economy is roaring. Our workers are thriving. And our country is winning again, winning like never before. We've never had a period of time like this. You've never had a period of time. I just left a great group of people from Iowa, and half of them were crying as they talked to me. I don't think they were crying because I'm doing a bad job. You know, in theory, you cry if you do a bad. They were crying because I've done a good job. Sir, they said, sir, you've brought our country back. Crying. One woman was fantastic. She put her head right there, and her tears are pouring all over my beautiful suit. I figured I'd get it. And I checked it out, and there was a lot of makeup all over. I said, what the hell am I going to do? I got to get myself in trouble. No, but she was crying, and I said, don't cry. Be happy. Be happy. With the help of the incredible people of Iowa, we're repairing 4 long years of disaster and decline, and we're beginning what will be known as the greatest years in the history of our country. I believe that, too. We are entering a period that will be called the golden age of America. That's what's happening. So together with all of you, and you were with me from the beginning, all 3 times we won by a lot. I don't know if you remember, but before I got involved, this was really a Democrat state. You know that. I don't want to bring it up. And then I came along, and it wasn't a Democrat very long. And our great chairman did such a good job. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, you could do anything. I've offered him, come to Washington, take any position. But he likes it. He just doesn't want to leave. I think you just want to stay in Iowa. I don't blame you. But you are fantastic. But we've won all 3 times by a lot. But this used, until we came along, this used to be a Democrat state, and then we turned it. Barack Hussein Obama, have you heard of him? He won both times, didn't he win both? He won twice, you know. Barack Hussein Obama, wonderful president, really brought people together, didn't he? But Barack Obama won twice, you know, and so everyone said, well, Iowa, you know, they had this down as not winnable, and we won in a landslide. 3 times we won in a landslide. So. Together with all of you, the citizens from all across this incredible, beautiful land, we will make America powerful again. Oh, we've done it. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America healthy again. That's happening. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And most importantly, we will make America great again. Thank you, Iowa. Thank you. We've worked on it long and hard. For years, they've been working on it. And
welcome back to the Will Cain Show, live from Iowa, and now we're here. We're here with President Donald J. Trump. Mr. President, great to see you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for doing this.
Well, you know, you do have great ratings.
Well, thank you.
We check the ratings, but even if you had lousy ratings, I would do your show. You are terrific. You've been a terrific guy.
I anticipate they should do very well today with this type of guest today here on the Will Cain Show. Welcome back to the campaign trail. Welcome back to Iowa. How does it feel?
Well, I love Iowa. We've won it 3 times conclusively. There wasn't like any late night voting or anything. We just won it right at the beginning. The doors closed and they said Trump won. And I love the people. You know, I just get along with the people.
I was watching the other room. You look back in your element. You're back with the people. What do you like better? Do you like this, standing on the stage at a rally, or do you like making a deal, maybe for Greenland?
I think I like maybe the rallies better. Deals are fun, but we're making a lot of good deals. We've made record-setting deals. We have $18 trillion coming into the country. That's why they're building auto plants, AI. They're building everything. With thousands of businesses are being built all over the country. And you're going to have a beautiful, very positive explosion sometime during the year when these things start opening up. But there's never been no country has done what we've done.
That explosion, that anticipated economic explosion, that's going to be important because you also need to do something that someone has done very rarely. You acknowledged this a couple of days ago with Maria Bartiromo, and that is for the president in power to win the midterms. I think it's been only twice since 1938 that the sitting president, the president in power, has won the midterms. Are you concerned?
Well, nobody can explain why. You know, even when we've had an amazing year, there's been a record-setting year in every way, and nobody can explain. Even presidents, whether it's Republican or Democrat, when they win, it doesn't make any difference. They seem to lose the midterm. So that's the only thing I worry about. I said, why? There's some psychological factor out there.
What do you think that is?
But I think it's like 2 in more than 50 years. Well, I don't know. Maybe they want to put up a guard fence. Maybe you just don't know. It doesn't make sense. Even if a president did well, they seem to lose the midterms. But hopefully we're going to change that around. We're doing great. We have the best polling numbers we've ever had. We have the best numbers in the country, lowest crime numbers in the history of our country. You know, Minnesota's in the news a lot, but what they don't say is that Minnesota has low numbers because of the fact that we took thousands of hardened criminals out of Minnesota. So they had good crime numbers, believe it or not. And that's all working out. You know, we have Tom Homan there now. We put him in there. He's great. And they met with the governor, the mayor, everybody else. And we're going to de-escalate a little bit. But I will tell you, you look at the numbers, they're doing better than they've done in many years because we took thousands of criminals out of Minnesota. You look at Washington, D.C., it was a very dangerous place a year and a half ago. Now it's as safe as you can get. You can walk your family down the middle of the street, nothing's going to happen. You know, it's we got rid of over 2,000 hardened criminals, many of them let in through the open border policy of Sleepy Joe Biden. It was not a good, that was not a good policy, Will.
I want to come back to Minnesota in just one moment, but let's go to those guardrails. I'd imagine you do not feel like you need guardrails in this moment. You talk about the investment.
No, I don't need guardrails. I don't want guardrails. Guardrails would hurt us because, you know, we're free enterprise people. The people in this room, the people of Iowa, are free enterprise. That's why we want it so big 3 times in a row.
I would have to imagine that guardrails would be an understatement of what would happen should you lose the House or the Senate. There's been talk of impeachment. You've been through this before.
Yeah.
You've been through it multiple times.
I'm a professional.
What will happen? What will happen if Democrats take the House or the Senate?
They'll probably try and impeach me. They'll say he went to Iowa and he spoke unfairly to people and he's not supposed to do that. Let's impeach him, okay? And the people in Iowa would say, how did he get impeached? He just did an interview with Will, who has very good ratings, okay? But they just did an interview with Will. Now, they'll find something. There'll be something, I made the wrong turn at an exit and let's impeach him. Now, they did that before. They impeached me on a perfect phone call. Turned out they impeached me twice. And by the way, I won the impeachments very easily and quickly. But they impeach. They're very nasty people. You know, they have bad policy, really bad, but they do 2 things. They stick together, not stupid. Some are, because, you know, that's true with everything, right? But they stick together, but they have really bad policy. Men and women's sports, transgender for everybody. So many things are so bad. They're horrible to the farmers. And by the way, I just gave the farmers $12 billion because they were treated unfairly. We're taking in a fortune with tariffs. And I wrote them a little check about 2 weeks ago for $12 billion. Anybody in this room get any of it yet? Yes, yeah, a lot of people. It's a lot of money. And you know what? You deserved it. But we're taking in so much money from the tariffs that we can do that.
I want to talk about the point of view from some of these farmers, some of these people in this room a little bit later, but now I want to take you up on your invitation to talk about Minnesota. Listen, the entire country is talking about what happened this past weekend in Minnesota. You've already spoken about it. Everyone watching has seen the video. Everyone has an opinion. I'm curious what you thought when you first saw that video.
Well, I think the whole thing is terrible. I don't like the fact that he was carrying a gun that was fully loaded and he had 2 magazines with him, and it's pretty unusual. But nobody knows when they saw the gun, how they saw the gun, everything else. Bottom line, it was terrible. Both of them were terrible. The other was terrible too. And I'm not sure about his parents, but I know her parents were big Trump fans. Makes me feel bad anyway. But I mean, I guess you could say even worse. They were tremendous Trump people, Trump fans. And, you know, the daughter was, she was, I don't know if you could say radicalized, maybe not. I don't know. But I hate to see it. I hate to see that.
You bring up the term radicalized. What do you think is happening? You see these people in these videos, they feel very emboldened to step in and interfere with law enforcement.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about protest, holding signs. I'm talking about people physically interfering with immigration enforcement. Why? Why do they feel so emboldened?
You know, you have to go throughout the whole country. You know, we have done so much work throughout the whole country. We don't have any problem. The only one we have is Minnesota. We're in a lot of different places. New Orleans, we're in the governor of Louisiana called they have a big problem in New Orleans. And we went there. We've cut the crime by 67% in 4 weeks. It'll be down to practically nothing soon. Washington, D.C., we don't have problems. Like, you know, we've cut it down from a lot. It was very bad. It was terrible. People go to Washington to look at the Lincoln Monument and they end up getting whacked or whatever, killed in some cases. Numerous killings. That's a beautiful, safe place now. Memphis, Tennessee, one of the worst in the whole country. And now it's got very little crime.
But it's gone very differently in Minneapolis.
Well, it has. It's the only place.
And now the message is out that Tom Homan is in.
Yeah.
Commander Bovino is supposedly leaving Minneapolis along with some CBP agents. Is this a pullback?
I don't think it's a pullback. It's a little bit of a change. Everybody in this room that has a business, you know, you make little changes. You know, Bovino is very good, but he's a pretty out there kind of a guy. And in some cases, that's good. Maybe it wasn't good here. But you have to understand, when I watch some of the people that I've been watching over the last few weeks, these are paid insurrectionists. These are paid agitators. These people aren't normal, like OG, that, you know, they're incensed about anything. How do you get incensed when you go into a state and you're taking criminals out? You're taking monsters out, murderers. You know, we had 11,888 murderers let into our country by other countries, by Biden with his open border stupid policy. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You talk about bad policy. Open borders where people were coming, so the whole world, the Congo, Venezuela, all over the world, they're letting people in from their prisons and they're feeding them into the United States. And they're murderers and they're drug dealers and they're everything else you can think of, every bad name you can think of. And they let them in by the millions. We closed the border. You know, we have nobody coming into our country anymore. Literally.
It just shows how hard it is to clean up, even after you close it. It shows the price that we paid under Joe Biden.
It's the hardest thing when you think of it. You know, inflation we've solved. It's done. We have it good. Where prices are coming way down. They were just saying in Iowa, the fuel is $1.95. Did you hear that? Somebody said $1.85, but it was $3.50, $4.50 just a year ago, a year and a half ago. You look at eggs, you look at groceries, it's all down. Everything's come down. Do you notice they don't mention affordability anymore? That's like an old-fashioned word. They brought up affordability, but they were the ones that caused it. I didn't cause it. I came in, prices were way too high. We had the highest inflation in the history of our country. 48 years, they say, I say the history. But we had the highest, let's say in 48 years, the highest inflation. Prices were way high. Now I've got the prices down and they're going down still further. But think of it, we brought fuel from $4, $3.50, $3.75 down to $1.99, $1.08. I was just told in Iowa, $1.85.
Yeah.
A gallon.
No doubt. No doubt. But that leaves that problem, like you said, the hardest one to solve. People say they want our immigration laws
The hardest
enforced.
one to solve is.
You know, I remember a conversation that you and I had a year and a half ago with your Secretary of War, our friend Rachel Campos Duffy, and you said to me, you looked at me and said, it's going to be difficult when the New York Times runs a picture of a little kid being taken away from their mother. It's going to be difficult. And by the way, that basically happened to you a week ago. It was propaganda and it was false about a 5-year-old.
By the way, it was a totally false story.
Totally
about the
fake
5-year-old.
story.
Yeah,
But
totally.
you're now dealing with the difficulty of the propaganda in the face of enforcing
And I knew that,
illegal
Will.
immigration.
I mean, I
You
said
did know.
that. It's always tough.
Are you
So
still
we
committed?
take out 25 murderers. We take out drug dealers. We take out a whole group of people by the thousands. And if we get one person a little bit wrong, headlines. But they don't talk about all the tremendous, you know, the reason that we have Minnesota crime down. I talk about that because it's only down for one reason. We took out so many criminals. But other states are way down. So the report came out, though, think of it. In the history of this country, we have the lowest number of murders. We have the lowest crime, the best crime numbers. That's despite the fact that millions, I say 25 million people, millions of people were let in through the border by Biden. And many of those people were not people you want to have in the country.
So what's going to change? You put in Tom Homan. Have you spoken today to Tom Homan?
Well, yeah, I have. Tom is fantastic. Tom is a tough guy, but I've watched over the years, and he's gotten along with governors and he gets along with mayors. Some people don't. Some people just want to do their job and leave me alone. And that's sort of okay, too. That's generally been okay. Most of them are happy. Memphis, Tennessee, very tough, very straightforward. We're taking the criminal out. We're getting them out, either putting them in jail, because some are so bad that you don't want to send them to where they came from because you're afraid they're going to come back. They're murderers. So some are very down and straight, and others, Tom, I've noticed, as tough as he is, he gets along very good with governors and mayors. Now, I spoke to the mayor and to the governor yesterday, and they want to see it cleared up.
I'm so fascinated by your conversation with Governor Tim Walz. This man has suggested that this is a modern-day Gettysburg. He has likened his situation to Anne Frank in the Holocaust. He has said that ICE is your Gestapo army. And then you guys speak on the phone. I'm fascinated by that conversation.
It couldn't have been a nicer conversation. And in fact, I said to my people, I said, it's hard to believe that's the same guy I watch on television, or I watch in a debate not doing so well, or because we had a very reasonable conversation, very good conversation. If you believe the conversation, he'd like to get this thing over with. But think of it, in the whole country, we've done this so much. We have the crime down to a level that nobody ever, you know, I campaigned a little bit on crime, a lot on the border. The problem is I gave you the best border in the history of our country. Nobody wants to talk about it anymore. You know, I did it a long time ago. I was able to do it within 3 months of taking office. I had that border locked and closed. And, you know, nobody even tries to come up anymore. It's easy now. Nobody even tries to come up. Before they were coming up by the millions. But nobody wants to talk about that. They only want to talk about whatever the last thing is. But we're taking out thousands and thousands of criminals. And the worst thing that Biden did to this country, because again, inflation, I can solve, all this stuff. The hardest thing to solve is when you have people brought into the country and you have to take those people. We have a very unfriendly court system, frankly, especially at the lower levels. Take those people and you have to say, I'm sorry, but you're going out. And in many cases, they're murderers. And, you know, they shoot you. They kill you. You've seen that, where they kill you. You're after a murderer. Sir, you're going to have to come with me. And they end up shooting you. It's a very tough job that they have.
I know you addressed this morning. You talked about the incredible success, and it is an incredible success at the southern border. But you were asked, with the shift in Minneapolis and Tom Homan going to Minnesota, do you still have confidence in DHS Secretary Kristi Noem? You brought up the success at the border.
Look,
you do.
She was there with the border. Who closed up the border? She did, with Tom Homan, with the whole group. I mean, they closed up the border. The border is a tremendous success, one of the most secure borders in the entire world. We were a laughingstock 1.5 years ago for the whole world. The whole world laughed at us. I had friends that said, is that real? You know, they'd look at a picture. You've been down to the border. They'd look at a picture of the border with hundreds of thousands of people pouring in like it was water. And they said, is that really taken? They can't believe it. They think it's one of these crazy movies that they make. The border was horrible. It was horrible. You know, I did the border twice. First time I won, 2016, I won on the border. But that border was nothing, and I fixed it immediately. It was great. We had great years, and we had a great economy. We had the best economy in history in 2016, my first term, and we rebuilt the military, and we get the largest regulation cuts. We had the best job number. We had a great first term. This term seems to be blowing it away. I mean, the only thing we have is a Minnesota situation, and that is, I believe, easily resolved.
Okay. You're about to take the stage here in Iowa. I imagine you're going to talk about the economy.
Yeah.
I'm curious what your plan is if the Supreme Court rules negatively on your tariffs. You talk about the tariffs.
We'll have to find another way. Look,
is there a plan B?
Yeah, the tariffs have been indispensable towards success. We've taken in $600 billion in tariffs. I gave the farmers $12 billion last week. I took them out of tariff money. It's kept the unfair competition out of our country. Now, they can build their auto plant here, but they can't build a plant in some place with, you know, labor costs for a penny and then sell it into this country and then charge people a lot of money for a car. So the only way they can do that, they have to build the plants here. So the big auto companies from Germany, from Mexico, from Canada, Mexico and Canada are literally, their plants are closing down. They're moving into this country. So we have more activity than we've ever had. We have thousands of businesses all over the country being built. We have hundreds of big major factories between AI, autos, and many other things being built. We've never had a thing like this.
And you use them as a tool for world peace.
For world peace, yeah. We have to use it for world peace.
But what happens if the Supreme Court strikes down the tariffs?
We will find some other way of doing a similar thing.
You know,
but it'll be more inconvenient.
I was just speaking to some of the diners here today. Right. David Ullman, he's lived in Iowa for a long time. He's in agriculture. He does express concern about the tariffs and the effect it's had on farmers in Iowa.
Well, it's going to be don't forget, they just kicked in. And it's going to, and we've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars. And we've kept a lot of people out that want to come in and rip off for years, it was in the reverse. China would charge us tariffs. Other countries would charge us tariffs. I've totally reversed it. Japan gave us $550 billion. South Korea is supposed to give us $350 billion. But what happens is they're coming in, they're building plants, they don't have to pay tariffs. If they don't do that, so what's happening is we're getting a tremendous amount of business coming to this country, and they're coming in fast and sharp. I think the farmers are going to be the biggest beneficiary, because when you used to have people coming in and dumping their crops into the United States, and you guys were hurt, they're not allowed to do that because we're tariffing those crops.
Just a couple of more questions.
I think the farmers, in a way, and it's going to take a little while to kick in, and the farmers stuck with me the first time, and I was right with China. When China did a little bit of a number, we gave you $28 billion then, because it was a help, because they were taken advantage of for years. We gave them 28. Now we gave them 12, sort of a minimal payment. $12 billion for the farmers. Nobody else would be able to do that. Nobody else would even think of doing that. But the tariffs are going to be phenomenal for the farmers, but they just kicked in.
I just see some nods here as you're talking.
A lot of nodding.
A couple of
Thank you. Well, they all
more
work for
questions.
me.
A couple of quick more questions,
Thank you.
Mr. President. One serious one. This whole Minnesota thing, it started because of a focus on fraud. It started because of illegal immigration and welfare fraud.
Yeah.
The question is, will there be accountability in Minnesota and beyond?
There's got to be.
Other states, California.
Minnesota is one state. If you look at California, but so in Minnesota, they think it's $19 billion. If they think it's $19 billion, triple it or quadruple it. And if we catch a lot of this fraud, and I felt it for a long time, but now we know what's happening. And the answer is, yeah, there will be accountability. It's one of the little problems. You know, I happen to think, and I've said it from the beginning, that a lot of what's going on with respect to Minneapolis, you know, with what's happening with all the hoopla, is so people don't talk about.
You think it's a distraction?
I've said it from day one. It's a distraction because what you don't see is that we have hundreds of accountants from Todd and from all of the different people. We have hundreds of accountants going over everything that's happening, and we're finding fraud on top of fraud on top of fraud. And I think that they don't want that to happen. You're talking about $19 billion. Probably that's a minimal number. Now, you take that and you go to California. You think California is better? I would say California is worse. It's totally out of control. They don't know what they're doing out there. The governor is, I actually thought he was a pretty nice guy, but he has no clue what he's doing. Look at a railroad. He builds a railroad. It's like 20 times more expensive than it was supposed to be. And what they did to get down the cost, they made it shorter so it doesn't go to San Francisco.
You saw what he said, right? He's claiming victory in Minnesota, by the way. He has posted that you have retreated in Minnesota, Governor Gavin Newsom, and he is encouraging people to keep the pressure up.
See, I haven't heard that at all because it's just the opposite. I was called by the governor yesterday. I was called by the mayor yesterday. How do we do something? Please, how do we do something? I think it's bad for them. I don't think it's bad for us. I think it's bad for them.
Yeah, you'll have to see what
But it's not a question of retreat. We want safe cities, whether it's, if we took a lot of the crime out of there. We want safe cities and states. We want a safe country. And again, we just got a report done by Democrats that the country is the safest ever recorded right now.
Right. Along with a secure border. I'm just looking around, who's here today. There's a lot of people, but one guy who is not here is your Secretary of State. And I'm afraid he made a very big mistake. He gave an interview where he said that one of his tricks with you is on Air Force One. Marco Rubio goes into a room and covers himself up with blankets so that you won't see him sleeping, that you'll think it's a staffer. And so I think there's only one of two ways you go with this. You give him yet another job, or you pull the blankets back.
That's what he wants. Let me tell you, he's doing a fantastic job. But he's a tough cookie. I can tell you that. He's a tough cookie. He's going to go down as the best Secretary of State we've ever had. You see what we're doing. Just today we solved a tremendous problem in conjunction with Syria, saved many lives.
Right.
I mean, we're saving a lot of lives all over the world. Ended 8 wars. I'm very proud of that because it's not tough for me. We're trying to end one more, by the way, Russia, Ukraine. And I think we're going to get that done too. But we ended 8 wars and saved tens of millions of lives. And I'm happy about that.
You should be proud.
Thank you.
I know you're a big sports fan, so we'll end here. We now have the Super Bowl set. New England Patriots, Seattle Seahawks. Now, usually when someone asks you these questions, you answer with, which of these two teams have a greater affiliation and fandom of President Donald Trump?
That's true. In those
so
cases,
I'm curious, have you already done the analysis?
Well, I tell you what, no, but
who's going to win the Super Bowl?
Bob Kraft is a friend of mine, and I've watched that team. You got to hand it to him. He had the great team, and now he's got the great team again. They made a fantastic draft pick. The quarterback is great. But it's going to be I think it's going to be a tremendous game. I hope it's going to be a tremendous game.
Yeah. Mr. President, I know you got to take the stage. I really appreciate all the time you've given us and joining us live. We called a lot of audibles right here at the last moment. We really appreciate you joining us.
Well, you've done a tremendous job, and you've really been very fair to me. I don't even say nice. I just want to be fair, and you've been fair, and you've also been nice. And so it was an honor to do it. When I heard it was you, I said, let's do it.
My goal is to tell the truth, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Will, very much. Thank you.
Thank you to the President of the United States.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe.
Joining me now is Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Governor Walz met with the White House border czar Tom Homan today, who was dispatched to Minneapolis in the wake of Saturday's fatal shooting. It's the governor's first television interview since Alex Purdy was killed. I appreciate you being here. I'm sorry to make you stand out in the cold, though I guess you're used to it.
Minnesota.
Yeah. First of all, the meeting with Tom Homan, how did that go? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, Tom Homan's a professional, which is a lot more than Bovino and Kristi Noem. But look, I think the thing we said is we're very clear about this, that we need these folks out of Minnesota, and we need justice for Renee Good and for Alex, and those were things that we came with. I think the thing that I'm most concerned about is the tone was different. There was a tone shift. I wish it was because of the horrific, shooting that somebody saw some morality, but I think it's probably the press. But with that being said, I'm not interested in a more efficient Metro surge. I'm ready for them to get out of here, and I think that's what Minnesotans are talking about. So it was progress. Look, I never got a call from Bovino or Noem.
Never.
Nothing. When they're coming here, and Tom Homan landed last night, and he called me last night and asked if he could have a meeting, and he was there at 9:00. So, look, I think that's progress, but they started this fire, so we're not giving anybody credit for putting it out. But right now, what we need a return to normalcy by these ICE agents out of here. And you talked about this in all those meetings with the White House and with Tom Homan and his team. Nobody asked about Alex or his family, so I appreciate you bringing that up. This family going through the horror of losing their son, and then also to see him slandered like that, it's just
not only slandered. I'm slandered by the top officials
in the
world,
the most powerful people in the world, and not taking it back. And look, for one whole day, certain news stations, that's all they were running, and that's one of the problems here. Look, Minnesota, they came here. We don't have near the undocumented folks that many other states do. Minnesota's a well-run state. Minnesota's a place where people get along. We welcome immigrant community, and they brought this down on us. And I think you're here, Anderson, you're telling your folks it's a siege. It's a siege in all respects. We have children being pulled from their parents. We have elderly people being drug out in this type of cold with no clothes. It's just absolute cruelty.
I mean, is it in your mind political that they came here to Minnesota?
Yes. There's no other facts for it. They've changed why they're here. Donald Trump himself said, I won that state 3 times. He didn't. And then I get a letter the other day from Pam Bondi demanding our voting records in this. And kind of like, well, we'll send these people out of here if you do that.
But there was an implication, quid pro quo in that.
Oh, exactly. Amateurish, but that's what they're doing. And they're never going to get those. And states control that. 10th Amendment. You're seeing all the contradictions. I appreciate you saying this. 2nd Amendment, 10th Amendment, everything else that is no longer there. But the one thing I can say is that come out of this, and you've seen it, the strength of the people of Minnesota, the decency of Americans, the ability to care for their neighbors, to be out there, that will last a lot longer than this administration. But I just say right now, it's very disheartening to me to see the president say Kristi Noem's doing a great job. I'm not sure there's been anybody more incompetent or cruel that's ever served in a cabinet position than her. And this is on her. And look, we need to know who these people were. We need these guys brought back here.
That's the thing. I mean,
we showed up to do an investigation, and we're not allowed onto the site.
In any normal situation, your state investigators
the best
would be on the scene, would be working the crime scene, would be in charge of this, or at least working with federal law enforcement.
And they've developed the trust of the people here, and what they come up with, they don't make any judgments on it. They turn it over. A grand jury will then bring indictments.
Has Tom Homan made any indication that that'd be something?
He said he would call Kash Patel about it. I asked him, I said, that's one of our demands that this happen. I also said, insult to injury. It's just like there's a cruelty that runs so deep it's hard to understand. They opened a federal investigation into Renee Good's wife, and that's still ongoing. And I said, look, you want to send some goodwill to the people of Minnesota, you need to drop that. But he indicated he would do that. I see the president say he might peel down a little bit. When you deal with the president, and I said, I'm in a situation where people say, well, you got to give him something, you got to do something, don't anger him or whatever. It's pretty hard not to be angry when your citizens are being shot. It's pretty hard to be angry when you see the amateurs out here, wreaking havoc. And there's no purpose to this. And I think what's really important to tell Americans, Minnesotans believe in law and order. Minnesotans believe that we should have border control. Minnesotans believe in due process, though. And Minnesotans want to know, if you say you're going to get the worst of the worst, quit lying about who you're arresting. Tell us who you're arresting.
It is shocking just to see. I mean, we've known for a long time these guys are wearing masks, but it is now just an army of masked men who seem to be acting with impunity and seem to be. I mean, I can't tell you how many of the videos there are of them, like, cursing out people.
Look at the cruelty of it. And up at the Whipple building, if you went up there, the federal building where they're stationed, they come out to get in their car and they taunt these folks. And we finally got to the point where we have to keep order. And it's very difficult when they're undermining order. They create this chaos and we have to come in and clean it up. So we took over the security of that building. When I say we, the state and the National Guard. So instead of those scenes up there you saw of just chaos and smoke grenades or whatever, you saw National Guard with uniforms on with their names, no mask, handing out donuts, hot chocolate, and coffee. And today I got a request from the protesters up there if they could deliver homemade food to the National Guard who are away from their homes. That's the way this is supposed to work. These are your neighbors. We have a group of folks here, mercenaries, who are told we're the enemy. They're kitted up like they're in Afghanistan to do these things. They take 7 people to throw Alex on the ground and then shoot him. It's insane. And I appreciate all the news media that here is telling it, and tell the rest of the country, stand with us on this. This is a stand we have to hold on. They have to leave here. They have to bring these folks to justice, and they have to be some accountability to the top levels. Kristi Noem still having a job today is absolutely outrageous.
The administration seemingly in cleanup mode over the killing of ICU nurse Alex Preddy. To people here, though, the cleanup is not what's wanted. Coming clean is, and signaling a course correction, if that's what the president is in fact now doing, is not the same as doing the right thing. With that in mind, here's the president in neighboring Iowa this evening talking about the new official he sent here and the change he expects to see.
We have Tom Homan there now. We put him in there. He's great. And they met with the governor, the mayor, everybody else, and we're going to de-escalate a little bit.
De-escalate a little bit, he said. That's the president talking to a Fox host about bringing in his border czar Tom Homan to oversee the federal operation here and removing border official Gregory Bovino. The host, Will Kane, followed up with this.
Is this a pullback?
I don't think it's a pullback. It's a little bit of a change. Everybody in this room that has a business, you make little changes. Bovino is very good, but he's a pretty out there kind of a guy. And in some cases, that's good. Maybe it wasn't good here.
So Bovino is out and out there, according to the president, a little bit, and Homan is in. And before leaving for Iowa, the president also seemed to promise answers and accountability in the wake of what Bovino's men did to Alex Preddy just a few blocks from here just days ago.
We're doing a big investigation. I want to see the investigation. I'm going to be watching over it. I want a very honorable and honest investigation. I have to see it myself.
Well, keeping them honest, though, we've already learned that the investigation will be solely in the hands of the Department of Homeland Security. Neither the Justice Department nor the FBI will be involved, and no one from the state. When asked about DHS, Secretary Kristi Noem, the president today, said she was doing a, quote, very good job. Tonight, though, House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries is calling for her firing. Republican senators Lisa Murkowski and Tom Tillis are also calling for her departure. They're the first senators from their party to do so. Murkowski is saying it was, quote, probably time for her to go. Senator Tillis, when asked if he had confidence in Secretary Noem, said, quote, no, not at all. I think she should go. He later softened his remarks, but only slightly.
Senator, do you have confidence in Secretary Noem?
None at all.
But do you think Noem should step down?
I think Noem needs to decide what, I think if Noem looks at her body of work, I could not be. If I were in her position, I can't think of any point of pride over the last year. She's got to make her own decision, or the president does. But she has taken this administration into the ground on an issue that we should own.
Senator Tillis also laid into the president's deputy chief of staff and ultimate point man on immigration and deportation.
Stephen Miller never fails to live up to my expectations of incompetence. I can tell you, if I were president, neither one of them would be in Washington right now.
Well, Stephen Miller, for his part, is weighing in as well tonight, in part about the basis for this inaccurate statement, which both Secretary Noem and Gregory Bovino read just hours after Alex Preddy's killing.
An individual
approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed suspect reacted violently.
Resisted, fearing for his life and the lives and safety of fellow officers.
An agent fired defensive shots. Medics were on the scene immediately,
delivered medical aid to the subject, but the subject was pronounced dead at the scene.
This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at this scene to inflict maximum damage.
Where an individual wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement.
This individual went and impeded their law enforcement operations, attacked those officers, had a weapon on him and dozens of rounds of ammunition, wishing to inflict harm on these officers, coming brandishing like that and impeding their work that they were doing.
So if either of these public officials had an ounce of decency, they would call up Alex Pretty's parents and apologize. Stephen Miller, for his part, called Alex Pretty a would-be assassin, also domestic terrorist. Tonight, though, he is saying this, quoting now, "The initial statement from DHS was based on reports from CBP on the ground. Additionally, the White House provided clear guidance to DHS that the extra personnel that have been sent to Minnesota for force protection should be used for conducting fugitive operations to create a physical barrier between the arrest teams and the disruptors. We are evaluating why the CBP team may not have been following that protocol." The words, "I'm sorry and I was wrong," were not included.
We begin today's show.
Joining me now is Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Governor Walz met with the White House board.
The Trump administration is changing who's in charge of the ongoing immigration crackdown. So is this a sign that the president is backing down? Today, Border Patrol Commander-at-Large Greg Bavino, he's seen here in this archive video throwing a gas canister at protesters last week. He's going to be leaving town. He's expected to take some of the 3,000 federal agents in the city along with him. The White House says border czar Tom Homan will take over the operation. For protesters on the ground, Bavino's exit is only a first step.
Good riddance. Couldn't have came sooner. And, but I mean, that doesn't mean everything stops, right? We can't take back what happened before, but we're still living in trauma from Renee and countless other people, right? But now we have this, that he came to our community and caused all this damage. It doesn't just go away because he leaves. And then who comes next and what happens next?
Joining me now in the group chat, Alex Thompson, CNN political analyst and national political reporter at Axios, Audrey Fahlberg, National Review politics reporter, and Chuck Rocha, Democratic strategist and former senior advisor to the Bernie Sanders presidential campaigns. Alex, can I start with you? Because we got some signals from the White House. The president said he had a conversation with Governor Walz, I believe, that there's some dialogue there. But what do you think made the administration finally rethink how it was talking about the death of Alex Pretty and the ICE tactics overall?
Well, because for the first time in probably at least a decade, the politics of immigration are no longer on Trump's side. He always felt that this was his strongest issue, and every poll showed that was the case. With the increase, and this is not just about Alex Pretty, this is about increasingly over the course of the last year, voters have increasingly soured on the way that Trump has
we have
done
some
immigration
polling about this. The
enforcement.
New York Times Siena poll, how ICE is handling its job. The number I always look at, independents, 70% disapprove. And this was January 12th. So this was even before this second shooting.
And they know that, and they sense it. And so Trump is now frantically, you also have a looming government shutdown that will happen, or at least partial government shutdown that could happen as soon as this weekend, unless they can pass some of the DHS bills. And you need Democratic votes to do that. So the Trump administration is now trying to do all these things via executive actions to try to placate some Democrats. But Democrats so far have said they're not going to go along with it.
Now, I had seen the Wall Street Journal editorial board. You had seen other people sort of come out and say, hey, I think this is backfiring. Is the president hearing it? But the thing that stuck out to me was Chris Medell. He's a former candidate for Minnesota governor. I say former because he has just decided to drop out from the race. And to give people some context, this is the guy who apparently was the lawyer representing the ICE agent who shot Renee Good. So think about that. Very high profile, and he thought he was going to then run for office. Instead, he released this statement on Monday.
I support the beginning of Operation Metro Surge, the idea of getting rid of the worst of the worst, and they did some of that. But it has gone so far beyond that goal that it just got to a point where I just literally cannot support that. I can't look my daughters in the eye and say, yeah, I'm doing the right thing by continuing this campaign, by being a member of this effort.
There's political ramifications all across the board here, but there's also real life ramifications. The reason what you're seeing from the White House is because you can say a lot about Donald Trump, and I disagree with a lot of things with Republicans and what they do, but he is politically astute and he understands when poll numbers start sinking around an issue that's very direct. And this is, to Alex's point, if you looked at those independent numbers prior to the election, they were upside down when you asked them if they should be deporting criminals or people that were doing bad things. 70% of independents would have bid for that. But to Alex's point, it's the way that they've implemented that. We're not talking about the border being closed. We're not talking about actually bad people that's been deported. We're talking about what we're seeing in the street with American citizens dying, and that's his problem.
But I think this is also putting into stark relief the very real and long existing tensions within the administration about how this deportation strategy is taking place. So we have people like Noam Corey Lewandowski, Stephen Miller, who want deportations up as much as possible for their own sake. Then we have people like Tom Homan, who is seen by Republicans as more of the adult in the room. You know, he's controversial among Democrats, of course.
We heard folks at Fox repeatedly saying, you know who you should send in? Tom Homan.
Right,
And then pretty shortly after, Tom Homan was going in.
Proof that the president definitely watches a lot of Fox News.
Yeah.
But he's, you know, proponent of more of this worst first kind of, you know, focusing on illegal aliens with a criminal background. But I think, you know, another thing, there's a tragic, you know, fatal shooting in and of itself, and there's the administration's response to it. And Noam and Stephen Miller accusing Preddy of domestic terrorism was obviously not the right course.
Well, you saw this last weekend, it was the Stephen Miller, Kristi Noem response
Yeah.
to this, because that is how they've responded to every controversy over the last year. And what's so striking is that this is the administration overruling in some ways Kristi Noem and Stephen Miller, which they have not done so
And
far
I heard
this
that
term.
there was a meeting with Noam and Trump at the White
And
House,
Lewandowski.
but not Miller.
On my understanding, I'm not sure. I'm sure he
Yeah.
was somewhat involved. I know that those two were in the meeting.
President Trump says he and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz are, quote, on the same wavelength after a call on Monday. They spoke for the first time since federal immigration agents shot and killed 2 U.S. citizens in Minneapolis. Walz says he told Trump he needs to reduce the number of federal agents in his state, and he said he felt a definite change in tone.
We've laid out the case that we do the right thing. We don't want criminals here, but we also recognize that someone coming here to find a better life should be treated with dignity, that Americans shouldn't be fearing for their lives to go out of their house just because of the color of their skin. And the atrocities we're seeing, and I think Donald Trump understands it too.
Group chat is back. I want to talk about this tonal shift for both of them. First, I think for the longest time, I have heard this argument over the last couple of days, especially from conservative and right-wing voices that say basically there was a far left organization that kind of put Preddy in harm's way and turned him into a martyr, that this is all part of a strategy. And can I come to you, sort of, are you seeing this as well? And is that starting to fall apart under public scrutiny?
I think it is. And I think the important thing to remember here is when a tragic situation like this happens, our government officials are supposed to tone down the temperature, say this is a tragedy, and we're going to investigate the matter. That's not really what we saw from people like Noam and Miller, who again accused him of being a domestic terrorist. I think if he had withdrawn his weapon, he did have a concealed carry permit. If he had withdrawn his weapon and tried to shoot somebody, that would have been a different situation. But that wasn't the case here. He was filming a law enforcement operation.
And they sort of stepped on a rake going after his gun rights. It felt like you had some voices saying, the criminal intent is having a gun, and then your own party is then not going to love that.
The pro-Second Amendment party was now saying that, well, just by having a gun around law enforcement, you are thereby a threat. They also completely misrepresented what happened. And if we had not had cell phone video from lots of different angles, like the government's word would have been perhaps the last word. So by them misrepresenting it, and then we still haven't even seen the body cam footage from many of the officers too, which could actually make this a bigger crisis for the administration.
In a statement, Governor Tim Walz's office, they said the president also agreed to look into reducing the number of federal agents in Minnesota and working with the state in more coordinated fashion on immigration enforcement and regarding look, if Tim Walz had cooperated in the first place, maybe
for trying to get the vision what they want, which is them trying to be tough and quote unquote deporting bad criminals. And absolutely any bad criminal who done something bad should be deported. But this is not what they did. And let's be clear that there's real consequences to what they're saying. I was on the phone all weekend. We were all snowed in, lots of group chats going on in my actual group chats with Latino leaders around the country. And there's folks traumatized. This left-wing stuff is not about left-wing stuff. This is about folks that are out there that are Democrats or progressives that are just fighting for regular folks and U.S. citizens that are getting killed. That's bringing real trauma to a group of people on the ground there that aren't trying to fight their government. They're just wanting to live and not be attacked by their government.
But does this mean they're in your group chats because they're like, how can we be more politically active? Because a lot of people looked to Latino voters and said, look, you are the reason that Trump is in office.
Right. And a lot of that this weekend was about how do we take what power we have, like with Latino senators, Latino electeds, or folks on TV talking about the trauma that's going on the ground right now with folks that are just trying to abide by the law.
I have one more thing. Just sorry, I have to play this. It's the Oklahoma governor, Kevin Stitt. He has publicly questioned the direction of this. And this is a very succinct statement that's sort of saying the loud part out loud. Here he is with Dana Bash.
But now Americans are asking themselves, what is the end game? What is the solution? And, you know, we believe in federalism and state rights, and nobody likes feds coming into their state. And so what's the goal right now? Is it to deport every single non-U.S. citizen? I don't think that's what Americans want.
Oklahoma.
I mean, it is extraordinary what you are seeing in terms of the rhetoric on both sides here. For the first time in many years, Democrats actually want to talk about immigration, and they actually feel that they have the political advantage by talking about it. That has not happened perhaps since 2015, 2016, in a way that most of the party does. And the fact that you have a Republican of Oklahoma saying, actually, the policy is not to deport every person that's here illegally.
Which is a surprise to me.
I mean, but I think that shows because, and this is what people have always been saying, is that could never be the policy because you would have inevitably some of these images.
You should tell Stephen Miller, he's the one who said that they wanted to take away the rights of folks that were going through the processes right now.
Or birthright citizenship.
That's the birthright citizenship
piece.
But
I want to acknowledge all of the sort of conservative publications that were waving their arms in the air and saying, hey, this isn't working. Like you went to make an example of Minnesota and you ended up making an example of yourself.
And losing the narrative.
Welcome to the NewsHour. President Trump sent his border czar to Minneapolis today.
The Trump administration is changing.
Welcome to the NewsHour. President Trump sent his border czar to Minneapolis today and shifted his response a bit.
Hey, you guys, we still friends? Listen, so I was going to show you guys something else, but that video that just came up from PBS, which I'll hurry play, I don't know. Do you guys mind if I watch that? Do you guys mind? I'm kind of curious because I like Tom Homan and I want to see what he did at the border. PBS is worse than CNN. I hardly watch PBS. Okay, you guys know I'm all about Fox News. But I can't just show Fox News because I show news from the left and from the right. I'm unbiased, I'm fair. But I kind of want to see what happened with Tom Homan, you guys. Is that okay? All right, I'm just going to have to risk it. You guys rack out in the chat. Because sometimes things will come up on my feed because all I do is watch news all day. And I research the stuff. I don't just show you guys stuff. I research what I'm showing you. But I want to see what's happening. I'm curious. Detour, is that good? Okay. I'm gonna have to look at this and then we can talk about it. That'll be my last one, more than likely. And then we'll talk before I call it a day. Tom is the man. Yeah, I want to see what happened with Tom Homan. Did you guys hear? So Donald Trump pulling back on the federal agents, and some of you in the left are still upset. So I'm not sure the compromise that you guys want. We'll talk about it after this video.
Following bipartisan backlash to the fatal shooting of a second U.S. citizen by federal agents this weekend.
Both the president and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz signaled some progress in the Twin Cities. Border Patrol senior official Greg Bovino and some agents are now reportedly leaving the state. But anger over the conduct of ICE and the Border Patrol is high, and a federal judge is deciding whether the immigration crackdown can continue. Special correspondent Fred DeSam Lazaro begins our coverage with the latest from Minneapolis.
On a frigid morning in South Minneapolis, another makeshift memorial grew larger today for another U.S. citizen killed at the hands of federal agents. For residents showing up to honor Alex Pretty, a mixture of sadness, anger, and exhaustion. Rose Zeeley lives just steps from the site of Saturday's shooting.
I was like really right there at the end of the corner, and I was walking towards this way. And I heard the gunshots and I just started running. I just hope we can all get together and have an understanding and stop this. This is very terrifying, and it's not good. I pray every day for us all.
Emily and Brandon Del Bell drove in from neighboring St. Louis Park.
We woke up, we got our kid to school, and we were paralyzed. Don't know how to take the grief that we're dealing with right now.
I drove into work, got in there, and I realized I couldn't be there today. Yeah, nothing feels real, so I need to prove to my body that this is real, so I needed to come here, even though it's really hard.
But by mid-morning came the first hint of some conciliation. President Trump, in a Truth Social post, wrote, "Governor Tim Walz called me with the request to work together with respect to Minnesota. It was a very good call, and we actually seem to be on a similar wavelength." The president also said he was sending border czar Tom Homan to Minnesota. In a statement shortly after, Governor Walz said he had a, quote, productive call with President Trump, writing, "The president agreed that he would talk to his Department of Homeland Security about ensuring the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension is able to conduct an independent investigation." He also said the president agreed to look into reducing the number of federal agents in Minnesota and to coordinate with state officials. In an interview with Minnesota Public Radio this afternoon, Walz was asked about reports that Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino would be leaving the state tomorrow.
That is really good news, and I will acknowledge it here. That is the president following through, apparently, with our conversation.
It comes after Pretty, a 37-year-old ICU nurse, was killed by ICE agents during a scuffle that was captured on video by bystanders. Department of Homeland Security officials were quick to say that Pretty had been, quote, brandishing a firearm.
This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at the scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement.
And hours after the killing, White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller called Pretty, quote, a would-be assassin in a social media post. But numerous bystander videos from the encounter paint a different picture. A frame-by-frame analysis of the video by the New York Times and several other news organizations shows Pretty holding a phone, not a gun. And they show agents removing the gun from his hip 1 second before the first shots were fired.
You don't have to choose between your First and Second Amendment rights.
Rob Dorr is with the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus, the state's largest Second Amendment advocacy group. He says there's no evidence Pretty was trying to shoot agents.
I'm just very disheartened by the inaccurate messaging that's being put out. And I think it's being done for two reasons. One, to give the public the impression that Mr. Pretty was in violation of the law. So therefore, the use of force was justified against him, and to try to discourage people from exercising the rights that they're entitled to. You have a right to carry a firearm in Minnesota if you have a permit, which Mr. Pretty did. You have a right to carry openly or concealed. You have a right to carry backup and magazines, and you have a right to carry at protest.
It's all sparked a political firestorm, with numerous Republican politicians criticizing the ongoing ICE and Border Patrol operation in Minnesota, now over a month old. In a social media post over the weekend, Louisiana Republican Senator Bill Cassidy described the shooting as, quote, disturbing, and called for a full joint federal and state investigation. Meanwhile, Minnesota officials were in court on two fronts today. One case aims to preserve evidence in Alex Pretty's shooting after state investigators were shut out from examining the scene. The second lawsuit looks to end the so-called Operation Metro Surge altogether. Still, tensions remain high in the Twin Cities. One demonstration boiled over last night with people vandalizing a hotel where they believed ICE agents were staying. The state's Department of Public Safety said officials were encircling the group for arrests when federal agents showed up unannounced and deployed chemical irritants. All this as friends and colleagues mourn and remember Alex Pretty. Dmitry Drakonia is an infectious disease physician who worked with Pretty both in clinical and research settings.
He was just a really fun guy. Did his work hard, made sure that he was covering everything that he could do and also trying to see what else he could do that would free up space for other people to do their jobs. He was just a helpful, friendly, engaging guy. So to hear him described as a domestic terrorist it boggles the mind, and it is contrary to everything that I've known for 8 years.
And while Pretty's final moments are splashed across the front pages, Dr. Drakonia points to other photos as a truer reflection of who he was.
The image of him holding his mountain bike, the image of him smiling in his official portrait, you'll notice that every one of those images that is out there, he has a smile. And that is the person that he was. And that's how I hope people remember him.
For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Fred DeSan in Minneapolis.
Okay, I think y'all had enough videos. Y'all tearing up my chat. Let me get to you guys' comments. I really did not want to leave it with the left. I wanted to turn it back, and show you guys that a lot of the things that's happening at the border, you have your paid agitators, you have your paid protesters, and Donald Trump is doing what he needs to do, and people need to get out of the way. Okay, but I like you guys to hear it for yourself. I like to show you guys make your own judgments. That was the latest from Donald Trump. I almost played from Omar, but I can only handle so much, you guys. I can only handle so much. Let me get to your comments. Fresh and fit are misogynist. Nuri, you still talking fresh? Yeah, but MU, the woman was calling me gross and misogynist for playing fresh and fit. Oh wow, I love Melissa. I see Dr. Manhattan and Bush Baby made acquaintances. We'll need to go back to Moscow because he got it tonight. Bush Baby, he's doing a great job. Politicians, okay, you guys. So what do you think about what I was showing you? Oh my goodness. We've been here for almost 2 hours. Okay, let me get to our comments. I have to read them from the bottom up if you guys have something you want me to see. Okay. What about Fresh and Fit? Fresh and Fit makes me laugh. Damage says, I promised myself that I wouldn't be too judgmental or nasty. You know, oh my God, my allergies. The hard part is that it's one thing to be respectful, but I feel like the right has to be so respectful. You guys are going to have to excuse me for a second. I need some Kleenex because you guys will be talking about me in a second. Give me a second. We won't need any rumors about me sniffing. This woman is a joke. Nuri, you say a lot. You say a lot. If Trump said don't jump off a bridge, these idiots will. Independence will lose. Okay, let me try to find a comment I can talk about. Melissa. So you guys, what about what I showed you? Can we talk about that? I spend a lot of my time as I'm watching these videos. I look at y'all comments, and what I notice is that some people that's criticizing Donald Trump or saying things like he's a criminal, you really don't have anything to back it up with. So instead of just saying that you don't like Donald Trump, can you say why you don't like Donald Trump? What is he doing? What is the compromise? So he has the ICE. It's not just the ICE agents out there. It's different federal agencies out there at the border, right? You got Border Patrol. You have other agencies out there. So what's the compromise? Just let the illegals come in, let anybody come into the country, no matter what damage it does to the country? Is that what people are wanting? You just want ICE to back off all the way? Or are you looking for some type of solution? Because he won't release the Epstein files in violation of a law he signed. Speaking of the Epstein files, have you guys been following the Clinton trial? When he went and listened to when he didn't obey the subpoena? I find that interesting. Have I played that? I don't think I've covered much of that for you guys, but I'm on it. Also with the photograph of Bill Clinton being over there and his relationship. He's been questioned about his relationship with Epstein, but every time I play a Donald Trump video, it never fails for you guys to throw Epstein in the chat no matter what I'm talking about. He wasn't even the subject, but if you want to talk about it, let's talk about the trial with Clinton. You won't talk about it, Echo. I think you have selective listening. I have no problem talking about the Epstein files. I could do a whole stream on Epstein files. I won't do it on the vertical, though. I'll more than likely do it on the horizontal. There'll be like 10 of us there. We can talk about Epstein all day. You're going to change the narrative, Lord. Where's Dr. Manhattan? You're going to change the narrative on the illegals and borders. Misunderstood. It's so much more, and I think you know it. How am I changing the narrative? Is it not true that people come into this country undocumented? They don't come in here the right way. All Donald Trump is asking, not just Donald Trump, but the Republicans. And let's not talk about Biden, who gave Tom Homan an award. Okay, so ex-president Biden thought that Tom Homan was doing an amazing job. So now all of a sudden Donald Trump uses Tom Homan, who Obama practically endorsed. So now it's a problem. I think there's selective outrage. Donald Trump is not the only president to deport illegal immigrants, and he won't be the last. So he's doing what the American people voted him to do. The problem goes far beyond just letting people into this country. All right, and we know why certain people will fight to have illegal immigrants here, and it's not for the reasons you guys talk about. So we could talk about that. Bill Clinton called for the release of the files. Trump was the only one being secretive about it. If you guys were that worried about the files, then you would have fought for the files to come out during the Biden administration, especially before Trump was elected. But now we have the files out, but you guys don't want to talk about what you see. You want to keep deflecting on Donald Trump. No. I said you're going to have to change the narrative. The illegals and borders, it is so much more. So much more what? Yes, there's so much more to the story. Why do they want illegal immigrants here? Why? Does it benefit the right? Does it benefit the left? MU, I'm enjoying no tax on overtime. That's right, old schools. Also, no tax on tips. There's a lot of things that Donald Trump is doing. They're gonna deport me. Oh, Nuri, typical. They're going to deport me to where? It's hard to get. The files are not out, and Biden could not release the files because of. He could have released it. The Democrats were majority in office. Are you okay? He could have released it. I'm so lame. America's doing a reset. Illegal aliens have got to go. They have to go. We all know that that's why Harris lost the campaign. That's not the only reason why she lost the campaign. Not only did she run a poor campaign, only criticized Donald Trump, and I'm not trying to put anybody down, okay, I'm not. But the whole, I told you guys, the men and women's sports, the American dollars paying for gender reassignment surgery for prisoners at tax dollars expense, and the whole thing with her was just odd. It was an odd campaign, and now she says she's going to run. She's more than likely going to run for 2028. Now, I do not think the Democrats are going to push her through. I feel like their candidate is going to be Newsom, who's very problematic, but it is what it is. I'm hoping for J.D. Vance, but first we have to get through the midterm elections. When we get through the midterm elections, we'll see where the Republican Party stands. Biden screwed her VP over. Who cares about the files? I should have read this before I highlighted it. You pansies only care because you wish and hope there's something you all can cry gotcha against Trump. Like she said, if you really care so much, you would have with Biden. That was the perfect opportunity. But because they want us to assume what's in there about President Trump, if there was something about President Trump, he would have already been tried and convicted. They've been trying to get Donald Trump for so many things that there's no way that if Donald Trump was in those files, the way that they're trying to imply, that wouldn't have come out. It would have come out, and it definitely would have come out during a Biden administration before Donald Trump was elected. Hey, Kazudupa. Did I mess up your name? I'm sorry. I can't believe finally someone else with such a clear understanding. Yes, not only do I understand clearly, a lot of people do, but they're going to keep using the Epstein files. Every time I go live, you have somebody talking about the Epstein files. I could be talking about Greenland. I could talk, actually, I don't even have to talk politics. I could just talk about the weather right now, and somebody be like, what about Epstein? At this point, what about Epstein? You want to talk to me about Epstein? We can focus on the trial at hand right now with the Clintons. We can talk about that. Biden brought down the cost of insulin to $30. Here we go. If you want to talk about prescription drugs, we'll talk about Donald Trump lowering the cost of prescription drugs. America pays the highest price for prescription drugs more than any other country. So don't just tell me about one medication. Tell me about all of them. Why is the United States paying so high? When Donald Trump talks about putting America first and stop letting these other countries take advantage of us. Okay? You guys want to talk about Biden? I can talk about Biden, but it won't be in a way that you like, because if you want to talk about Biden, I have to talk about Biden and his racism. I'll have to talk about Biden and what he didn't do for all people. I have to talk about him and a lot of things. So we're not really going to talk about Biden. He's not in the office, and I prefer to stay in 2026 right now, today. Let me hold some bread. Let me hold some bread. Iceland, or did I say Iceland? I meant Greenland. If I said Iceland, then I'm just tired, but you all know I'm talking about Greenland. Iceland is not even on my, if I said that, I just misspoke. Did I say Iceland, you guys? Y'all know I'm talking about Greenland. Clintons demanded public depositions in front of the House. The Trump DOJ only wants closed depositions so they can clip it out of context. You guys like to demonize the political right. I don't understand why. Nobody's trying to clip anything out of context. So I don't really do that fear mongering here. Like I said, I just play you guys clips. I'll let you guys hear it from the politicians' mouths. Nobody's trying to edit anything from this trial. You guys act like Donald Trump is just this person that could do anything, as if there's not a court process, as if there's not Congress and Supreme Court. Do you understand how the process works? They tried to block it. I must have missed what you said there. Are you married? Are you married? You try to take your right to vote away. Trump was literally given criminal immunity by the Supreme Court. Ty Consdo. Let's see. Now you guys think a congressional subpoena is important. Jim Jordan ignored a subpoena for years. We're talking about the Clintons, and he's been put to the table. I said Greenland. Thank you, Damage. I thought I said Greenland. Bush Baby, what you talking about with Iceland? I asked you, Iceland or Greenland, what's the difference? Bush Baby, if you don't know, there's a big difference between Iceland and Greenland. We're talking about two completely different places. Let me move on. Thank you, Damage. You can't even respond to that. I can respond to a lot of things, Tycons do, and I can especially respond if you guys hit my link and talk to me, because I'm trying to have a conversation with you guys from the chat, and there's only so much that I could do. Equal Republicans and Democrats went against the Clintons. Yeah, get the Clintons. Nobody on my side is defending them. Are you a Democrat when you say on your side? I hope you wake up. Nuri, I'm awake. I'm awake. I don't think you like what I have to say. You want to talk about the border? You want to talk about the ICU nurse that was taken out by Border Patrol? Border Patrol has been around for how long? That's not a Donald Trump thing. Border Patrol didn't just get there. Renee Good. I don't want to be insensitive to people that have lost their life. But I am going to say those ICE agents are out there. And when you look at these protests, they're the agitators. They're in their faces, trying to get them angry. Why? So the media can get pictures of the ICE agents responding. They hardly talk about what made the ICE agents respond. They'll show you them getting angry. And I really wish they'll stop using that 5-year-old boy as this whole thing that, oh, the ICE agents kidnapped him. They did not kidnap him. His father was running from the law. They had to do something with the boy. They couldn't just leave him out there. So they had to take the boy, but he wasn't kidnapped. He wasn't arrested. He wasn't anything like that. He was placed safely back with his, he was taken away, placed safely, I believe, with his family, but no one was kidnapping or arresting a 5-year-old boy. Are y'all okay? And all of these outrageous stories aren't really going to help you guys. Donald Trump is still the president for the next 3 years, regardless if you like it or not. And what I hate to see right now is what's happening in our country. I hate to see what's happening in Minnesota. I'm going to continue to pray for our country. We have had so many things happen, and I'm not looking at the chat right now because I know that you guys are probably cursing me out in the chat. So I'm just going to speak freely because y'all watch the clips. Okay. So there's a lot that happened in our country, and it's a sad day. Right now, it's really hard to, I'm going to just say it, you guys. It's hard to be a Republican in this day and age. If you come out and say that you're a Republican, there's going to be people that hate you. I live in California. I live in a very liberal state. I could lose my job if people at work knew my political affiliation. Why? So I have to come out here and say that I'm Democrat. Now, most people assume I'm Democrat because I'm Black. I'm just going to be honest with you. They do. And so people come up to me and say, wow, I'm so sorry what's happening in our country. And I just look at them. I really don't say anything. I'm just like, because I want to keep my job. I love my job, right? I do well with my job. I'm not trying to lose my job. But I have to sit there and listen because I can't bring that to work with me. It's kind of sad that I have to say, yeah, I'm against our president for you to like me. I'm not trying to have you like me. I'm not trying to have friends. I don't need friends, okay? I already know what people think, but when you demonize the political right, and I'm not saying anybody's victims here. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that people are perfect on either side because they're not. There's not. There's good and bad people on both sides. But when you take a person like Charlie Kirk who spoke his own views, right? He did represent the political right, and then you have somebody take his life, and then you have people celebrating his death because you don't like what he says. We have just because Charlie Kirk said some things that were true and made some people feel bad, it doesn't mean he should have lost his life. But when you call Republicans fascists or Satan worshipers or whatever else, you know what y'all call the Republicans, right? Then you make other people, it dehumanizes us, and it makes it so other people think it's okay if we lose our life. It's okay if you mistreat us. So many people called me names in the chat. I'll let it ride. But let me come off the porch and call you guys names, and you're gonna be offended. You're gonna have problems. You're gonna see I'm being insensitive. So it's as if only the left can speak their mind, and I'm not demonizing you guys from the left. I understand you. I have friends from the left, but what I'm saying is that respect goes both ways. If you have the right to free speech and how you feel and how you think, so do we. And it doesn't just work for one party and not the other. But what I'm seeing is it's very unbalanced. It's very the selective outrage. You guys are upset at Donald Trump for deporting illegal immigrants, but I didn't hear the same outrage with Obama. Would you like me to give you the statistics on how many illegal immigrants President Obama deported? Biden wanted Maduro just as much as Donald Trump wanted Maduro. Donald Trump is the one that made it happen. Both had bounties on Maduro's head. President Trump, his first term, had 20 million. Biden had 25. Didn't do anything about Maduro. Maduro has been committing crimes against the United States. President Biden spoke about it. You guys, I played that for you already. Donald Trump increased the bounty to 50 million, went over there, grabbed the Venezuelan president, and now he's standing trial. But I didn't hear this outrage when it was President Biden. No one said anything. No one said, no, you can't go over there and get Maduro. No, you support it. You said you showed that you supported it. Why? Because nobody complained about the bounty that was on Maduro's head. And now he's over here. He's standing trial. And that's where we are. Let me look at your comments. Biden's actions and Trump actions are not the same. Bush baby said, poor thing. I'm an American enemy. How am I American enemy? I feel that you guys are America's enemy by saying things like anybody can enter this country. There is no country in this world that you can just walk into and expect that country to take care of you. There's none that way. I'm for America's rights. I'm for protected borders. If you want to eat, then you better work. Okay, so we're not even going to get into the food stamp conversation and all that, because every time I get into stuff like that, I get cursed out. What I'm saying is the things that Donald Trump has put into place, you have to work. You want to get certain benefits. You can't stay on those benefits your whole life because you got to work. We are not a socialist country, even though I feel, well, the polls say a lot of Democrats want us to be a socialist country, but that does not work. It won't work. You got to work if you want to eat. It takes a toll on our economy, and we cannot just take care of everyone. That shutdown that happened should not have shut down. And no, we should not give trillions of dollars to illegal immigrants for healthcare. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. And now you guys know. I understand why some of you get upset at what I'm saying, but what I'm saying is what will strengthen our country. And anything, just allowing people to come over here, not taking care of the Americans that are here, not protecting our borders, not men are men and women are women. We do not want men playing in women's sports at all. Things like that. It's just what's going to strengthen our country. Other countries were profiting off of the United States with the cost of prescription drugs, letting anybody come in here, letting drugs be trafficked into this country, letting children be trafficked into this country. There was nothing wrong with saying, no, these things are going to stop. It doesn't matter how long these things has happened and how long these things have taken place. It's time for it to stop. I don't understand why some of you are saying I'm against America and that I'm evil and you want to throw these names at me. The only thing that I can come up with is because you don't really have any facts to back your arguments up. So the best you can do is call me out of my name, say that I'm stupid, and say that I'm dumb. Well, I don't know what to tell you, but I truly understand why you argue that way. You argue that way because you have no facts to back up your point. Okay? Am I okay with did I say that? You are dishonest and confused. Okay. All right, you guys, I'm really glad that we had that conversation. Misunderstood. I beg of you to listen to me. I promise it'll change your perspective. I have no problem listening to you, Tycon. You can email me. You can put any comment under my videos. I try to answer all of your comments. Can you say what I'm not correct about? I think you guys got to remember, I'm one person with a lot of comments. If I missed you guys' comments, it's because there's a lot of comments coming at me. So because I couldn't get to all of your comments, I just told you guys how I feel about the videos I showed you, not edited. I showed you from the right, I showed you from the left. And I still say what's happening in Minnesota, it's not a peaceful protest. People are losing their lives, and for what? For what? Why do you want just anybody to come into this country any kind of way? I heard somebody in the chat say they're refugees. No, they're not all refugees. They're not seeking asylum. They're not doing any of that. It's just, you drink MAGA Kool-Aid. When did I say I was MAGA? When did I say that? I don't claim MAGA. I don't have a problem with people that claim that say that they're MAGA. The only reason I don't is because I was a Republican before Donald Trump got into office. And when Donald Trump came into office, I was just like, wow. And then when Republicans became, got control of Congress, I was happy because Donald Trump wouldn't have all the pushback when he's trying to pass these laws, get these things, get the things done that he's already accomplished a lot. Donald Trump has accomplished a lot already, and he's barely been in office for a year. I'm ready to see what the next 3 years are going to be like. And he's going to have to do a lot within these 3 years. You just played one-sided clips, Bush baby. I think you're just saying things right now because I played from the right and I played for the left. So I don't really think you're being fair. I think that right now you're on this whatever. But I played, obviously, I played, y'all didn't see? I played Fox. I played, what I do? CNN, PBS. How's that one-sided? I clearly showed both sides. I'm not sure what you're talking about. So some of you are going to just argue because you don't have anything else to do. Democrats are subhuman. Mercy. Misunderstood. Can you please look up for me what qualifies as fascism and then consider what Trump has done that you think is good? What I do like about Donald Trump, there's a lot of things that I could talk about, but the fact that he wanted to clean up the border. Donald Trump is not the only president that has talked about the border problem. What Biden did, letting all these illegals in, no, you guys, no. It's not because they were worried about them having a better life. And I'm not going to get too much into it because I love my channel. I like talking to you guys. I can't get too into it, but we know why they let the illegals in here just to come and stay. Okay? Hey, Sean. Look up what qualifies. It's easier for you to look it up, Tycon. I'm streaming right now. I can't just stop and just, but it's easier for you to look it up. But I'll look it up after the stream if that makes you happy. But I already know what it is. Illegals can't vote. When you say things like you don't need an ID to vote, when I went to vote, they didn't ask me for my ID. Right? So you can say illegals can't vote. I'll say they're not supposed to, but I don't believe that none of them voted. I can't stand all the hate from demons. Man, I'm a demon now. I will look it up, but I don't need to look it up right now. I know the definition. Why are you guys? She has all these facts but can't look up nothing. I don't need to look it up. What'd you say, Knight's card? I think it'd be great to have a work requirement as long as unemployment is decreasing. I agree with that, Knight. Gaspard. See, I agree with stuff. Biden made money off of them knowing they'd get deported. That's a big crime, voting illegally. I agree, Cap Dog. It is a big crime. If you have a bunch of illegal immigrants here and you're promising them all this stuff and all these free benefits, what side are they going to vote, Republican or Democrat? Does it not benefit? Does it not add numbers to the House, for the House of Representatives? There's a lot of things I'm not going to get into tonight, but you guys are, when people are fighting for illegal immigrants to come over here any kind of way, that's not in America's best interest. And that is why Harris lost. It's one of the biggest reasons why I feel she lost her presidential campaign, okay? And even if people tell you that they're for it, the numbers showed vote. Republican president has not won the popular vote in like 20 years. So yes, they're going to tell you what you want to hear, but the polls say otherwise. That's why Donald Trump won. Trump doesn't even respect the separation of powers, the Constitution. I'm all for the Constitution. Illegals into the country is selfish. Is only to solidify. Okay, so Mark said it. I didn't even have to say it. Mark said it. I agree. Who's given trillions of dollars to illegal immigrants? Can you point a bill? Night Guard, that's what the shutdown, the government shutdown was about. They wanted to give trillions of dollars to illegal immigrants for healthcare. Now, they like to say that it was a Republican shutdown. No, all we needed was 5 Democrats to stop the shutdown at the end of it, and they wouldn't hold out. So that's what happened. We stand with ICE, the Express. You look high. Aw, that's the best you can say. Let me get you out of here. I don't care how Trump power prices has. Okay, you're making stuff up. I'm not making anything up. Okay. So anyways, if you guys don't have anything else, people get upset when you just like, I don't know what you guys are talking about there. Misunderstood. I just posted 3 segments. Where'd you post it at? I just posted 3 segments. Where'd you post it? If you posted it in my chat, I have to look after. Easy one, not on high. What's funny is ICE would detain her. Why would ICE detain me? I'm from the United States. Obama was anti-illegal immigration. Anti-illegal immigration. So ignore that Trump pardoned criminals. Nope, you explained it all. Fish baby, I can't with you. Didn't I just help you with Dr. Manhattan? Some of you agree with me. Some of you know. And the others are just going to go along with what the media is telling them. They're going to listen to propaganda. They're going to listen to lies that's told about the Donald Trump administration. And even if you don't like Donald Trump, go for what's the best for the country. Go for what's right. So you like criminals. Nuri, when did I ever say I like criminals? I think you just like putting things in my chat. Or are you just a hypocritical idiot? Well, you know. Have you not followed stories from Chicago and Minneapolis of people who are citizens have been and are detained? I followed it. I have my thoughts about that. The ones that I see being detained, the state police can help the ICE agents. They choose not to. I have showed videos of the police coming against ICE agents. They could tell who is who, but the ICE agents has to figure it out. They have their investigations, and if there's any mistakes, those mistakes have been corrected. But people are interfering with these ICE investigations. They can detain on skin color. If illegal immigrants are coming from certain countries that are of a certain skin color, you're not stupid. You're just believing lies. I'm not stupid. You get all your info off of news. That's not true. Support your president. I support the president. Alex Preddy got... Alex Preddy, so we got to go back and talk about the Border Patrol, not ICE agents when it comes to Preddy. May he rest in peace. May he rest in peace. Okay. White friends of my friends were detained. You asked why they would detain you. They can detain on skin color. Okay, Eco Thrift. I can't see an ICE agent detaining me. If you guys are trying to make me think that, I film. Not one ICE agent asked for any identification while I was filming. I filmed safely out of the way. I got kicked off. How'd you get kicked off? Damage. How'd you get kicked off? I filmed out of the way. Let me see something. Let me go on mute real fast. No ICE agent tried to detain me. Okay. No, what they? Let me see something here. All right. He doesn't care about you. Jerk. He doesn't have to care about me. It's not about me. I care about me. May all the victims of citizens who also rest in peace. Yeah, I care about me, okay? I don't need and I think that some of you forget that it's not just about me, it's not about you, it's about this country and what's best for the country. Damage says, I am a gun man, so I'm not going to ride this dude for having guns, but the impeding portion is from neither am I. We have the right to bear arms. Well, I play the keyword. Hi, one, Jojo. Trump is not what's best for the country. Well, some people are going to say otherwise. Some people are going to say otherwise. What was the alternative? Preddy, his parents begged him not to go. He had 2 magazines and a gun. If you carry and cops approach you, you best inform police and raise your hands. Yeah, Foster Covers, I have to hold my thought about that. I don't mind showing you guys a video on that again, but I'm going to hold my thought on that one. I am. I need to watch to see what's going to happen with this investigation with Freddie. Now, because I'm all for the right to bear arms, so I can't say why did he show up with a gun. I can't say that. So I'm just going to hold my thought on that. What misinformation did I spread? Hey, Kelly. Let's see what you have to say. I'm with you, MU. They only say this because it's Donald J. Trump. That man's family came forward with the truth. Would you impede on ATF? I'm not. Yeah, I was trying to find that right now, Kelly Ray, because I did hear that. I was trying to find the video of that. Having a gun while committing a crime, is it illegal? Having a gun while committing a crime. I think you might want to reword that, fair game. Having a gun while committing a crime, is it illegal? Isn't it illegal to commit a crime? And if you commit a crime with a gun, I'm not even going to go into that. That's you kind of answered your own question. They're following their color revolution playback and it's failing miserably. Why are you holding your thoughts? Speak your truth. I haven't spoken my truth this whole time, pretty. Trump said yesterday that you can't have guns. That's not constitutional. We can't have guns. Trump supports freedom of speech, gun rights, women's choice, persecution of any absurd person is in America. That's a lot. Hey, Christina. More like you had Nuri, you're really trying my patience tonight, but I'm not going to argue with you. You're entitled to your opinion, but I'm just going to help you out with that one. Using a gun in the commission of a felony is its own charge. That's why I didn't even go into that response. That's why I didn't go into it. Equal, so not true. Well, not related to gun ownership. Equal, so true. TM Fellows, hello to you too. She cannot even read correctly. I can read. The guy who was shot went from a protester to a felon when he walked into an area he was supposed to be also. Yeah, I've got to be fair with that one. I'm not really going to speak too much on Freddie. I need to watch more. Now, I've watched it. I'm in the health field, so I don't like seeing anybody lose their life. But I also don't like seeing these ICE agents being, I don't like what's happening to the ICE agents either. Especially in the situation with Renee Good. But again, if you want to talk about Freddie, then we got to talk about Border Patrol. And if you guys have not been complaining about Border Patrol before, why are you complaining about it now? Oh, I know. I don't have any mods in my chat right now. So I just have to let it go because when I'm on StreamYard, I can't see what's blocked and what's not blocked. So I just let it go. Freddie was a community observer. Well, people might say otherwise. That was just one of their minions that caused dysfunction. That was not protesting. Obama stopped most illegals at the border and Biden let them flow in. Obama sent a lot back. I do agree with you about Biden letting them throw in, but he did send a lot of the illegal immigrants back. It was sorry. All right, you guys. I've been here for a little over 2 hours, like 2.5 hours. I do appreciate you guys for hanging out with me, but I can tell when I'm getting tired because I'm like, so y'all are already saying I can't read. I can read. I just had a lot. I need to look more into what happened with Freddie, and there's just a lot to catch up on. I didn't even get to really go into Omar and a lot of other things. You guys, I'm praying for our country. These conversations are never meant to divide. I see you guys' attacks and y'all insults. I don't even mind them. You want to know why? Because just like I said, when you can't reason and you can't back up your facts and the points and the things that you're trying to say, you go to insults. That's just what's going to happen. I didn't see any insults coming from the political right, but for some reason, when you're and I'm not trying to demonize the Democratic Party, I'm not trying to do that, but I find it interesting that you guys throw a lot of temper tantrums. When you don't get your way, you come with all these insults. instead of just reasoning and using your mind and having a conversation. Okay, I'm gonna rest. Thank y'all for hanging out with me. Thank you for hanging out with me. So you guys cool with Somalia fraud? ICE has been so outraged. ICE has you so outraged that you're willing to overlook billions disappearing. Dr. Manhattan, I so wish I could have gotten into that tonight, but I know when you ain't praying for, oh, let me get you up out of here. You can't use prayer and curse and say, let me help you out. I wanted to get into that. Why am I shadow banned? Christina, how are you shadow banned? What you talking about? You're not shadow banned. I see you. Have a good night. MU, I'm gonna have a good night. I'm gonna do a little bit of studying. I was hoping to come back later, but I'll be back later today. You really don't see the insults from the right. I didn't see the insults from the right. No, I didn't see the insults from the right. All right, you guys, are we still friends? I'll talk to you guys later. I love you guys, and we will talk soon, okay? Those of you that just support me, and the ones that don't, it's okay. All right, bye. Hi, Gary. I'm getting out of here. I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you, Maz, Dr. Manhattan, for holding me down. I appreciate you. Claude, I appreciate you. Bye, you guys. Talk soon.